All right, so mics are hot. The reason why I'm telling people not to chat in the memes channel is there was just walls of text. And if you want to find the memes and the art, you would just have to like go and scroll up and scroll up. And it just became another text thread. And there was no longer any purpose to it because you couldn't find the content in that thread. So I am trying to coerce people into orderly communications.
How do you talk about the art, though?
Is it possible to make a Discord channel like image embed only or something like that?
No. Unfortunately, you can't.
And is there no way to cross-reference Discord things? Like, you can't be like...
There absolutely is. You could do, the pound sign and type the name of the other channel, and it'll link the other channel back to you. You can even copy individual posts and link references back to them. You can totally communicate. It's very easy. You just people have to put in the tiniest amount of effort and like try to use their brains just a little bit, which means it won't actually happen on the internet. I know, but I'm going to try and hold people to a higher standard.
It's a very authoritarian.
I do think that there's a kind of funny disconnect here where you're like, people just need to put in the tiniest amount of effort, but I won't scroll up to 5 minutes.
I can kind of sympathize. I've definitely had moments where I like look at my phone and it's like, oh, there's something new in the whatever arts and memes channel, and I click on it and there's no new art. It's just a bunch of text.
Yeah. You're right, Greg. There's hypocrisy. I want people to put in effort so I don't have to.
How much effort have you put in pinning all these messages in all the channels and enforcing your new rules?
That's a one-time thing, though, right? Ideally.
You make the messages, you paste them in all the channels, you tell the mods to do your dirty work for you, and then you like do one round of cleanup. That's how it works, I think.
So how you guys been? It's been like a week.
I'm doing good.
I guess we didn't play last week, huh?
Yeah, we all did.
Feels like a whole different universe ago.
Well, and I was like kind of late to the whole, I don't know, Demon's Run, is that what we're calling it? So I didn't get to banter at all. I feel.
Oh yeah.
Did we banter? I think we mostly just roasted Justin and Rob for making
for their ridiculous characters.
I get 12 attacks on even rounds and 34 attacks on odd rounds.
Oh my god.
I aspire to break a character that badly one day. I went about trying to once for a campaign. Well, it wasn't a campaign, it was a one-shot. Somebody was like, hey, I'm making a 5e one-shot. All my like PCs are inexperienced and I'm concerned I'm gonna kill them all. And I was like, don't worry, I am experienced. I will make a paladin warlock and I will make this happen. And like, I did okay. Like I was much more powerful than everyone else at the table, but like I was not raffle stomping encounters the way I envisioned doing so.
5e's too balanced. It's hard to break.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
If you're trying to break 5e, you have to do one of the weird things like coffee lock or something like that.
Sure.
Coffee lock? Please indulge me.
It's the warlock that abuses. There's like an interaction between the sorcerer and the warlock. 'Cause warlocks refresh their spells at short rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then sorcerers let you convert your spells into, I believe, meta magic points or something. I don't know. I don't play 5e. But there was, through a combination of, I believe, certain class features between each, you could essentially just take short rests forever. Mm-hmm. And then never take a long rest and just continuously convert your warlock spells into meta magic points. And then just have an infinite supply of meta magic points that you can convert back into spells as long as you never take a long rest. And then the designers tried to get around that because you could do it because they introduced some new feature where you no longer had to sleep. It was like a feat, I think. And then they were like, well, just because you don't have to sleep doesn't mean you don't have to take a long rest, and characters are still subject to the exhaustion rules if they don't. It's like, what the fuck is the point of not having to sleep?
And exhaustion rules are optional, aren't they?
I think so, yeah.
They're presented as optional, but as advice to any DM wanting to run 5e, I think that you should treat them as not only mandatory, but necessary to running your campaign.
Depends what
I
kind
wouldn't
of
call it that
want.
important.
Exhaustion rules help keep a lot of bullshit in check, right? 5e is a system that is very fun and streamlined, but it allows for a lot of chicanery. And like the
need to look
only
that up.
tool that the DMG really offers you to curb that are the exhaustion rules, and I use them liberally and aggressively.
I think like what Neal does, right, where the long rest is a whole night. Sorry, the short rest is a whole night and the long rest is a week. Does that not avoid a lot of it?
Yeah, that just changes the narrative, doesn't it? Like, it doesn't really change the encounter building at all. It just sort of
it
stretches
just slows
it
the
out.
pasting.
No, but in terms of like how exhaustion would allow you to stop, I don't know what chicanery Greg's referring to. So I guess.
Chicanery, noun. The use of trickery to achieve a political, financial, or legal purpose.
Yeah, I know what chicanery means but in this context.
Like making characters that break or exploit the narrative, or I guess the game, to like at the expense of the narrative or the fun.
Yeah, but in ways that you'd be able to solve with exhaustion rules.
Exhaustion rules are one of the few ways that you can really leverage.
Right, so like if this warlock sorcerer is doing some bullshit where they're not sleeping and they're like flipping their spell slots and their meta magic points, you can be like, all right, you're exhausted.
My solution to that has
Penalties
always
to
been to
everything.
just yell at the player. Like that's always been my solution. Like just no, you're a bad person.
character's
Stop
dumb.
doing this. Yeah.
Just shame
God
them
damn
into
it,
it.
Sean!
Ruining our fun.
Quit turning my fighters into great apes and killing my end bosses.
That wasn't even me. That was
I know.
Faye. I just kind of tickle them with lightning bolts a little.
What level were you guys when you finished it?
I was level 5. Some other people were level 7 by then.
Yeah, so the people who died along the way never really got past 5 because they got stuck in a cycle of dying. And the people who managed to like keep their shit together and live ended up at about 7.
Nice.
Yeah.
So question, is this the official chit chat or is this the pre-chit chat chit chat?
Chit chat is just chit chat, man.
This
It's
is the
all one
official
big
thing.
pre-show.
There's
Yeah,
no.
I
This
didn't
is the
know if there was
pre-show.
ever going to be like, all right, guys, start being entertaining. We're going live.
Oh, God, I need some ice for that burn. Hold on.
I mean, it was a self-burn too.
Right.
I'm reflecting my own insecurities.
Fuck
No,
off.
I think this is the point of the chit chat. It's just
This is
you
our
know.
pregame banter that we're getting at.
No, but then usually when we start, don't we have a list of topics that Greg presents?
Greg will take care of that whenever he wants to get around to it.
I recovered. Holy crap. That was savage.
That wasn't directed at you. That was, as I said, that was a reflection of my own insecurities.
It's all good.
yeah.
Okay, so apparently we're live.
Specifically quoting 901 now. That's
901.
great.
Oh, is it a sexy baby? Nick's greatest quote.
And yet you never answered it, Neal.
That will be the subject of a future campaign.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Be called Sexy Babies, and it will be Van's kid, Georg's Medusa baby, Baron's song Demon Baby.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
It'll be the new Rugrats edition of Dungeons and Dragons. We'll just get the little kids together and have them go around like fighting imaginary monsters in castles. We could do it.
Good.
Where you get XP based on imaginary quests.
I mean, if you're like, playing as a little baby running around fighting things, yeah.
It'd be pretty cool.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Tommy from Rugrats got heck XP, right? Like, by the end of Rugrats, that dude was like a level 27 rogue, I swear. That little toy screwdriver got into everything.
Remember the time he got tickets to go see Reptar on Ice for speeding?
Oh, yeah, I
wish
remember that.
I'd get theater tickets for speeding.
That was a good show, that. I used to like that.
Yeah. There was a point in time where I was convinced that every good cartoon aired while I was a kid. And like all of these new cartoons are crap. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, maybe that's because I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I went back and watched a whole bunch of old cartoons to see if they
don't hold up that well.
The funny thing is some of them do.
Some of them
but
do.
A lot of them don't, right? Like there's a lot of them that are like,
Yeah.
Like Dexter's Lab and Scooby-Doo hold up, but that's about it.
Courage the Cowardly
Zero
Dog holds up.
nostalgia.
Granted, I was always a huge fan of Courage. That was kind of like my TV show growing up.
Yeah.
I was too old for that one.
So some of them have subtle jokes and stuff for the parents watching. Those are the better ones with like multiple layers of meaning.
Yeah.
And like inappropriate jokes that go over kids' heads.
You're
That
talking
Like,
about Rocco's Modern Life?
that was not. Well, yeah, that's.
I mean, that was like a
that-
kid's film, but like he worked in if I recall, like a sex call store.
I don't think it
that's
was
right.
that subtle. I seem to remember thinking that Rocco was a bit fucked up when I was a kid.
Yeah, that was.
So
yeah.
Rocco's Modern Life and like
Doesn't the
Ren and
opening
Stimpy
scene has his
world.
brain getting squeezed out his head and his dog showing up and eating it off the floor?
Yeah.
I'm
That's
thinking
the
Ren and
opening
Stimpy, not
credits.
Rocco's Modern Life. I'm
Ren
sorry.
and Stimpy, I think those are the same creators, right?
right? I
Rocco's
think
Modern
so.
Life was slightly more toned down.
Yeah, and I just think that like those were never really meant for children, right? Like they aired on children's television because no one knew what cartoons like for adults were at the time. They're like, this is ridiculous. Adults do not watch animation. But I don't think those were ever intended to be children's shows.
Yeah, probably right. I think I'd probably agree with that.
I will say though, I found a show that was just, I don't know what. Okay, so I had been drinking a lot. I think, who was it? New Year's. And apparently, I don't know, I turned the TV on to cartoons. I don't remember. But I woke up the next morning and my TV was turned to the Cartoon Network and there was a show called Craig of the Creek on. And I was just like, nah, I don't want to get up and find the remote. So I just watched Craig of the Creek for a while. And that show's actually like really fun. Like Craig of the Creek reminds me so much of my brother and I just like wandering around the neighborhood, like deciding that the little trail between the like school and the arborvitae was like a secret path into some unknown world. We'd like ride our bikes through it. Maybe I'm just getting soft on cartoons, but Craig of the Creek and then like I think Gravity Falls is one that I've seen recently. Like there's just some like better cartoons. I think there was maybe there was a stretch of a few years where I was just a bitter like older person that wasn't willing to give the cartoons credit, but also maybe there was just like a doldrum of cartoons. I don't know.
I think they started making too much money and a lot of networks started mass producing TV shows. And there was kind of like there was some gems in the mix, but a lot of it was just like
Yeah.
too much TV.
Yeah.
I also miss like action cartoons. I feel like in the West we had, so like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when we watched them, were about like kicking ass, right?
Yeah.
They were like,
And ordering pizza.
we're gonna order pizza, we're gonna dick around and have fun, but we're also gonna like go beat up the foot today. Like today we are nunchucking somebody in the crotch. Like this is our goal, right? And like if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles got made today, there would be like an action scene or two, but 99% of the show would be like, April has banned us from ordering pizza, so we need to use our smartphones in a creative way to get.
Oh my god. I have so I tried to watch Star Wars The Clone Wars and I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm just gonna get through this shit. I got the spare time. I'm gonna make it through this. And I couldn't do it. And
It's not that
was
long. I saw it in the
like 6
theaters.
seasons.
Granted, I saw it like with my friends.
Okay, so there's two Clone Wars because I gave up and went to the other Clone Wars after this. So there's the Disney Clone Wars. Well, there's a
TV series.
Sorry, there's 3 actually. So there's the Disney movie, which is bad. There's the Disney TV show, which is worse. But then there was a Cartoon Network TV show back before Revenge of the Sith came out that was actually pretty good. And it really hit me when I finally just gave up on the Disney one and went back to it because like the Disney one, like everybody is such a wuss and like none of it makes any sense. And there's a scene where Asuka's like, hey, I know like I'm not supposed to have emotional attachments to my master, but how does that gel with the fact that Jedi are supposed to be compassionate? And like the character doesn't have an answer for her. Like she's talking to a Jedi master, she's like, I understand how you feel. And then that's like the end of the conversation.
No, clearly you don't. You're not allowed to.
I went back to it.
you're not allowed.
Oh god! And then I went back and I watched the Cartoon Network Clone Wars, and that's just full of people like it's got Mace Windu just machine gun punching droids to death. He doesn't have to do it. He has his lightsaber, but he does it anyways because he's Windu.
And they say they don't make action cartoons anymore.
Oh, that was 2003. That was
Okay.
a long time. It was actually surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm slightly younger than you and Neal, and I'm a little older than Sean. But like, when I was a kid, it felt like every show had like not every show. There were like the Animaniacs of the world, right? And that was not an action cartoon, and I loved it dearly.
Animaniacs
like,
were so good.
There were shows that were clearly like comedies and like slice of lives or whatever else, and then there was like, and then we have Batman and the X-Men and TNT and TMNT and like the Transformers even, and these were like, we have characters and they do things and it's an interesting show. Like Batman the Animated Series is an all-time classic in my opinion.
That was good.
But like, yeah, I think I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about it. But like at the end of the day, it was like a noir action, right? Like Batman went and kicked some ass normally, right? And I look at the similar style of shows in today's market and I don't see that. And like, I feel like instead, if you were a kid growing up today and you did not know that like shonen action anime existed, you just wouldn't have that option.
Although I do wonder if it's really such a
Oh
bad
my
thing.
God, Lord have mercy, Jackie Chan Adventures. Jackie Chan Adventures.
Oh my god.
Yes, I love Jackie Chan Adventures.
Wait, what is this?
Jackie Chan Adventures is a cartoon based on Jackie Chan. Like IRL Jackie Chan, he
No.
voices himself. And like evil Chinese demons like try to come back and Jackie Chan has to kung fu steal all these seals. Oh my God, he's got like a kid sidekick. It's
Holy
amazing.
shit.
It's a little ridiculous.
Oh my
actually
god.
good.
What?
The only thing I like vividly remember is he doesn't wear green on St. Patrick's Day, so you just get an episode of him like running around and literally everybody is pinching him as he walks by.
Yes. I remember that episode. Oh my God, dude.
I'm gonna have to find a copy of this.
Kids have
Please
got a lot
watch
more
Jackie
to do
Chan
these days, though,
Adventures.
right? All
More
we had
TV?
to do was play SNES and watch cartoons, but like kids have got the whole internet now.
Yeah,
they
they don't
watch
watch cartoons
TV
anymore. They
shows.
watch D&D and shit. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And people
don't
play
have-
Minecraft.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Watch Hardcore Heroes instead. Who needs Batman the Animated Series when you have the adventures of Malachi and Van Helsing?
Yeah,
Put
Neal
Put
has
down the
tats
Care
on
Bears and pick up the Homeward Bound.
I was at the craft store yesterday and I overheard some girls shopping for ingredients, craft materials for their Critical Role cosplay at the upcoming Comic-Con or something like that.
Nice.
Wow.
Someone was like, "What are you going to be?" And we're like, "Oh, we're going to be characters from Critical Role." So nerdy.
Oh.
Not nerdy enough to recognize me though. So
One of those like fake nerd gamers.
Yeah, Critical Role, what's that? Don't waste your time.
still though, it's weird times.
Yeah.
It is. The times are changing, Ryan. We're old
Yeah.
now.
Apparently.
Start to notice like new social sort of things that you just don't understand anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, so at some point, I went from being like part of the modern conversation to now looking from the outside into it a little bit. With a
That's
lot of
only
stuff.
if you're defining like what the kids do as the modern conversation, and that is something I'm happy to eschew. Once upon a time, I thought like we're hip and on top of the new stuff, and all these old people, and now I'm like, fucking kids don't know shit. Oh my god, their new things are ridiculous. These new expressions they're coming up with, yeet,
Yeah,
what the
exactly.
fuck is that shit? Oh my god, I'm so glad I'm not that
You're
young
the
anymore.
worst culprit when it comes to adopting modern slang.
I know.
Integrating
I
it
love to just-
ironically and then not ironically, and
Yes.
To be
but-
fair though, it did give me a second. Like when Mutin was doing the yeet thing on Gnomes, Tames, and Catacombs, I was like, "Holy fuck, is that?" Like I thought, is he a kid? And do you know what I mean? It just seemed like I thought that was something that only like 12-year-olds did. I'm not trying to insulting.
4 years ago it was, and now it's something
you
that...
thought it was more demographically locked than it turns out it is.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so streamers are an interesting profession because
Weirdos.
right. Well, but like, okay, so you're a streamer. You're X age. Doesn't really matter, right? But the vast majority of people who have the time and energy to watch streams consistently and religiously are young people who are either in college or in like their first job after college or even in high school or younger, right? And so like your revenue might not come from them, but like that is one of the most massive audiences on Twitch by like a large margin. And so like if you're gonna be a popular like personality, like you could be popular for other reasons, but if your like pool is like a personality, come see me, right? You're probably going to be rapidly adopting the things that bring those people back, right? And so the yeet situation is very likely an adaptation of like the popular culture that like feeds his personality.
I mean, I hear that, but also yeet in general. I hear 20-year-olds use that, so I don't know if it's that young of a thing.
Yeah, that's one of those things that expanded.
That's the exact audience I was like.
That's true.
Just
people in their
right?
Well, I think it was more like I think it's kind of cross-pollinated age groups a little bit.
It's one of those things like YOLO that starts out with the kids, and then the older
and then
generation starts to pick
YOLO
it up.
is a part of
And by the time we start saying it, the kids like, "Oh my god, that's so like 6 months ago. Don't use that word." You know?
I've never seen a kid act like that, Neal.
Okay, well, maybe I'm being over dramatic here. But I don't know.
I miss
feel
the
comfortable
days when yeet had like a defined connotation, right? Like you Kobe'd for accuracy and you yeeted for power, right? And now the yeet has just like consumed everything.
What are you talking about? Did you say I miss the days when yeet was what?
When it had like a defined like connotation and role, right? Like so, like okay, so
do you genuinely miss those days?
In the school days, yeah.
You sound like you have become my old manager, Greg.
So like when you were when you were a kid in school and you were like shooting, right? You had your little balled up paper. You'd finished your notes and you were like, ain't using these again. Rolled that up. The like cafeteria dumpsters way over there. If you were trying to like accurately put it in, you'd be like Kobe, right? And then you'd wet it because you're awesome. But if that dumpster was like 30 feet away and you were trying to get it over the top of like 4 dudes and like show off, you would like yeet, and then like that was your throw. You yeeted for power and you Kobe for accuracy.
It's not a word when you were a kid in the lunchroom with the dumpster.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
That's a thing that we did, actually. If you will go back into the annals of yeeting, that is accurate.
Annals. The word is annals, Greg.
Is that not what I said?
The annals of history.
The annals.
Chat is vouching for Greg here, so I'm not
saying he's wrong. I'm saying his timeline is wrong. I'm saying he's generating artificial memories because when he was in the lunchroom in elementary school, yeet had not yet.
Well, not in elementary school. I was older than elementary school. When I was in elementary school, I did not yeet or Kobe. I was way too shy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they didn't have yeeting and Kobeing in England. Definitely didn't have Kobeing. But
they don't have it anymore either.
Oh,
God. That's a savage take right there. So, according to Urban Dictionary, yeet looks like it originated in like 2014 and rose to popularity like last year, 2018, 2019.
Greg is like low-key claiming to have invented it here.
Yeah. Look, in 2014, I was in college and we had lunchrooms, right? Like in the bottom of the dorms, right? There was the communal eating area where there was a Chick-fil-A and like other shit. I spent too much time at the Chick-fil-A and like this was a thing. Like this
believe you. Yeah.
Existed.
Sure.
I'm content to be the old man though, and to just complain about the things that the kids do. I've always looked forward.
Area.
That's good.
Well punned.
I've always been content to be the old guy and just making fun of the way the kids do things. I've always wanted to be the old man yelling at kids to get off his lawn, and it's slowly happening.
It's actually happening.
Neal grew up dreaming of the day when he could yell at the kids to get off his lawn.
I really did, man. I've always just wanted to be smug and superior to people younger than me. And
Is
now
that
I
why
have
you
a
chose
platform.
this line of work? Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Your shirt even says obey on it, does it?
Yeah, it's my wife's sweater or
It's like
sweatshirt.
a brand, though, isn't it?
It is.
I don't know.
Who's it
It's
by?
something that she's had for like 12 years, 10 years. So
Out of interest, though, what do you think the average age of your viewership is now?
children.
Well,
You think
I think
so?
Neal skews
Neal
older
probably
than
gets
most Twitch
statistics for that.
streamers.
I
It's
don't
the
really-
lies, right? Like, there's a lot of 13-year-olds
That's
in
true.
chat that have to say they're 18 in order to watch.
Can we do a little
true.
straw poll in the chat? Is that something we can do?
Hello, Twitch
I
chat.
would-
You can also
Tell
look
me
at his
how old
analytics.
you are.
I would be surprised if
Oh god, don't just spam your age. We're not gonna get any statistics.
Spamming your age. Flood the chat with ages, please.
you're not 77. Shut up.
That's why you can't use straw polls because people
Someone
will
is
just lie.
69. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm doing.
There's a lot of 69-year-olds in chat, guys.
I'm doing right. Less than 10, 10 to 16, 16 to what? 22.
Less than
22
10?
22 to 30. 30 to 40 and
Whoa,
then 40
no,
plus.
don't. Okay, hold on, Nick. Only do 13 plus. Otherwise, there's potentially some legal violations involved here.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
kids under 13 can't make online accounts for most services.
Jesus.
They need parental permission or something like that.
Well, they could be under 13 watching with their legal guardian, and then their legal guardian selected under 13 for the poll.
Hmm.
Just do 13 to whatever.
All right,
'Cause
guys.
You do need a legal guardian now to yeet.
Just
We've
do
got
13 plus.
230 viewers, so I'm gonna wait for 100 answers. And then we'll read the results.
Should I respond?
No.
Are you
My-
a viewer?
my-
Do you watch this stuff?
Well, yeah, maybe
do.
should.
I watch
it.
Desperate Measures.
Then there you go.
All right, fuck. I'm in the second to last one. What the fuck? It's my poll. I don't know why I'm
Maybe your
shocked. But...
Wait, you only went to 40? I
40
guess.
plus, yeah.
Oh
it's
god,
going
wait,
low.
hold on.
80 votes already. Wow.
Nick, I'm 30. What do I do?
You go in the 30 to 40. 'Cause
Well,
you're
what about the
actually
22 to 30?
No, but you're like 30.05 or something, aren't you? So,
Okay.
unlucky, right? See, there's somebody who's 13 to 16.
Where do I go? I got 20,
Gaff,
30.
what are you doing watching this? 15, go outside and hit
Nick,
someone
I'm in
with
the
a stick or
middle age
something.
group of this poll, and I want you to know that I'm not happy about that.
Middle-aged.
I've made it specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly children. Look at that.
How is that
Yeah.
mostly
Oh,
children,
It's
Neal?
mostly
It's like in the
20-somethings.
Anyone under 25 years old is a child.
And I think Neal also has a sizable minority of old fart viewers.
Oh, yeah.
Or like old timer, like D&D guys that come
Yeah.
back for the Chewie nostalgia.
Yep. I was gonna say, like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Neal has a higher proportion of older viewers, but even then, it's probably mostly 18 to 27 is the.
Yeah, but I think most Twitch streamers are like catering to 13-year-olds, and it's just
I think so, too.
like Greg was saying,
Unintentionally
that's,
so.
just,
That's
it's just a
something-
weird occupation.
It's
Wow, we
something
got
I see a lot of on YouTube
140
as well.
responses. This is a very active Twitch chat.
You know how the way kids look up to streamers now, and the streamers sort of pretend to be young despite being 30. It's no different than like boy bands or like girl groups that are actually like 30 but are sort of trying to identify with like 14.
Oh my god, are we a
girls
boy
or-
band?
No, I'm just.
Oh my
no,
god,
look,
can
there's
we be
five
a
of
boy
us.
band?
There's
I want to
five
be
of us. Isn't
JT.
that what
Next
you need?
campaign idea. It's happening.
Yes.
A series of bards,
No.
hard body
Five
heroes, hard body bards. There we go.
What would a
Led by
campaign with
Tay-Tay?
5 bards with 4 bards even look like?
Well, you all have shirt. None of you wear shirts. One of you is the bad boy. One of you is the soft one. One
Sean
of you
has to be the singer.
Ah, shit,
somebody
I'm the
somebody
soft
demanded
one,
I be the
aren't I?
singer. You don't want to see that. You don't want that.
We're a boy band. We all sing.
That's true.
I'm
yeah.
just the star.
And
Ryan's the like tall, dark, and mysterious one who doesn't talk very much.
Yeah.
Nick's the cute foreign one, you know?
Oh, the cute foreign one.
Oh, can we pretend he's Korean? We'll get so many more hits. We could be K-pop.
Neal's the inexplicably older one.
Yeah, that kind of weird guy that's kind of hanging around and no one's really sure why he's involved.
Wait, is
Still
Neal
a little
just
bit too
shows
old.
up. I'm Joey Fatone.
Exactly.
I don't know. Who's Joey Fatone?
He was the old guy in the Backstreet Boys.
Ah, okay, got it.
Or was that in sync?
Neal's
It's
the
more-
manager.
I would have to
Isn't
be the
it-
manager. I'm too
Neal's
old.
you're the DM right now.
Yeah.
If this is a legit campaign, you'd have to be the DM.
Right. Okay.
I think
so we
that-
need a fifth boy to be the player.
You could have a 4-person boy band.
You can't have a four-person boy band.
Can you
Are
not?
we a barbershop quartet?
No, you need 5.
You need 5.
How many were in a boy band? Somebody name a boy band. Backstreet Boys. How many was that? Okay, that
All
was
the
five.
boy and girl bands in that
NSYNC
era have
was
5,
5.
right?
How many
NSYNC
were
had 5, Backstreet
West-
Boys had
West-
5.
West.
I don't think
Um,
Destiny's Child did.
Destiny Child was a trio.
There's
yeah.
4 in Westlife.
Yeah, but
Or is one of
Jackson
them-
5
no, is
were
one of them
5.
dead?
Look, it's fine. Just
Spice
just
Girls
pull in
were 5.
Justin. Just pull in Justin. We're fine.
Justin
To be fair, the
has
Spice Girls were like
Justin's too
3
old.
and then 2
Justin
hanger-ons.
Bieber? Do you know Justin
No,
Bieber?
Justin Foster.
I'm
He's,
joking.
he's even older than I am. We'd have to pull in like Fayama and just like give her a beard and let her be the 5th boy.
She played an excellent Darth.
Most boy band people do not have beards.
Yeah.
No.
Okay,
They might do in this
all
day
right.
and age, though, sure.
Oh yeah.
You never know this day and age.
This is a really weird conversation. I don't know how I feel about this.
Beard? Why is that our go-to for a 5th member? Like, we need a boy band member. Quick, get Faye. Like, what? Like, what?
Because she played Darth instead of playing Lucilla or Belle, and I was really tickled by the fact that we had 2 female NPCs, and we like didn't have the female player play
Yeah,
either of them. We just like
I
giving them the dudes.
oh man, I mentioned that to
That
her in
tickled me a
advance,
lot.
and she was like, "I'm just gonna spend the whole session talking about my ripply man muscles," and then she followed through, and I was very happy about that.
The chest hair, all those wonderful moments.
How
yeah.
can he see my amulet of regeneration through all of his muscle and
That
all
was
of his
actually
chest hair?
glorious. I loved that. Oh, yeah.
So, Greg, do you not have a list of prepared topics or what?
Nick's like, I'm done with this shit. We're talking D&D now.
Bijan. We'll find Bijan and make him the 5th
Oh yeah, I haven't heard from him forever.
yeah. No, I think he started updating his channel again, if I remember correctly.
Oh, did he? Nice.
Because he plays, it's like the sword fighting game, Chivalry.
For Honor, right?
The new, no, well,
Wait,
maybe he
does
did play for
does he
Honor.
play the old one still? Does he play Mountain Blade?
No, I don't know, but I know that when the new Chivalry game came out,
Chivalry,
maybe
okay.
Coast to Coast.
Fuck, it's called Mordhau, and it's
Mordhau, that was it, yeah.
it was okay. It was full of Nazis though, so that wasn't great.
So's everything these days.
Like,
I can't move for
In
Nazis.
game that you're trying to kill, or players are also Nazis.
No,
Like a lot of
players.
players were Nazis. There was a lot. I saw a lot of disturbing overlap there.
It's like four,
It was a little
4 chance.
concerning.
Is it like a Viking game or something?
It's a night game. I think it kind of pulls in the Crusader vibe for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Mm.
Why is it with Nazis these days and the alt-right and 4chan and all that? I used to be on 4chan back in the day, and it never used to have a bunch of Nazis in it. But if you go on it
Paul.
now,
Oh,
it's
no.
like,
Well, it was
was tongue-in-cheek
offensive
at that time.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good portion of this.
It wasn't-
Nazi
no,
hype, is
that
people
was-
being edgy and offensive.
Yep.
Yeah, it was people
I don't
trying
really buy
that.
to
I don't really
upset
buy
the
that.
status quo.
And it was a lot of it was
About-
Pol, right? Like Pol kind of metastasized into a lot, and then became 8chan. But I think it was
Yeah.
because wasn't there a point I've never used 4chan in any significant capacity, but wasn't there a point where they were going to ban racism off of 4chan, and then they updated it to you can be racist on Pol, and then that was kind of how Pol metastasized into the nightmare hellscape that it now is.
What was the guy that created it? When he moved on, I think everything
Moot.
sort of Moot. Yeah, when Moot moved on, I think everything sort of fell apart. Like that whole scene was very unsustainable. Like culturally, it was just like a septic tank of
Can we
the
talk-
worst
can
of
we-
everything.
Yeah.
talk
And
about
I
this
think
idea that it's all ironic, though. I think that's kind of bullshit. Like,
It's
I think
not
if
all
you're,
ironic.
Oh
I think
yeah,
if
no.
you're-
That's
ironically going to a white supremacist parade and holding an ironic.
Oh
flag
yeah, no, like
No, but a lot of the
like,
posts are ironic. A lot of people like make Nazi memes to.
Is it not just a way? Is it not just a way of?
Very old fascist fallback was to be like, oh, I was being ironic.
Yeah, exactly.
When they get called
Yeah.
out on the fascist.
And that's where the waters
very...
get muddy, and then real Nazis go and hide behind the.
Yeah. I think in the days when we were kids going to 4chan, it was a very different feel, and it evolved and changed, and it is now not the same. I too yearn for the older days, Nick. Back when things were simpler. Back when there weren't Nazis in our forums.
I think a lot of that old 4chan
more
stuff
like.
was I think if you went back nowadays and you looked back at all that old 4chan stuff, you'd be like, this is a lot more Nazi than I remember it being.
Nah, it's not the same as it is now. It
was
really
pretty
fucking
offensive, but it was less Nazis and more like dead bodies. And
it wasn't politicized in the same way as it is
septic
now.
Wounds and.
It just felt like shock value. As a kid, I assumed everything was shock value and no one was serious. But that might have just been my perspective at the time, and maybe I was viewing like genuine Nazis, but thinking that how could anyone have this point of view? They're just going for the shock value, you know?
Yeah, it's probably a mix, and then some people hide behind the shock value. I don't know.
Because I've been playing that game Rimworld. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but I was on the.
That's the like space store fortress, right?
Yeah, I was going on the subreddit for it, and this guy was like posting pictures of his like. He'd made this mod so he could have a bunch of like Nazi flags, and he'd like named all his little guys like Adolf and Hans, and had like a big room full of like dead bodies. And he was like posting it. It's like, what the fuck?
That's oof.
Yep.
That is fucked up.
That's really not surprising, and it really upsets me that that's not surprising to me.
It got me thinking though. I wonder if there's something to it. The fact that like this generation now is one whole generation removed from anyone who was actively involved in the Second World War. And if maybe just over time, like the memory of it is being diluted, so people are less likely to be so like against it as maybe our generation would have been, who had grandparents who had first-hand experience of it.
A lot of it is that Nazi groups are very active online. It's a huge recruiting ground for Nazi groups is to recruit people online. And
feel like
in video games especially, that's a lot of like young kids who often lack social skills. And they're really prime targets for that sort of thing. So
yeah,
I think there's a lot of our demographic kind of is a prime target for that sort of thing.
It's really easy to get swept into any sort of community when you feel generally ostracized, and then some community comes and says, don't worry, you're with us, let's just shit on these people. Even if you're not like, your heart's not in it, you just want that social validation, it's a really easy thing to slip into. And then if that's the people you grow up around, those are the views you begin to adopt.
Yep. And if you look at a lot of the people who are currently in Nazi groups, are like recovering from these groups, they often say it wasn't the ideology, it was the fact that I like had people that I became friends with, right? And then the ideology kind of like is a part of how you fit into this group.
Yeah.
It's like growing up with going to church. You, as a kid, you don't necessarily believe anything, but you're just surrounded by it all the time, and that's what your friends do. And then the culture slowly seeps into you, and then you grow up as a good churchgoer. You replace church with Nazis, and you get the same result.
Suddenly, the church doesn't look so bad.
So let's break out of this conversation.
Yeah. Instead of Nazis, Greg, you have a list of prepared topics.
Hold on, I'm dying to some birds real quick. I'm sorry, the Nazis came up, so I threw the birds on, and okay, I'm dead. Fuck.
All right.
I took the Philosopher's Stone, and then they killed me. All right, so
ain't that the truth?
I gave my part. Okay, so just real quick, I gave my party 3 Philosopher's Stone and an Absolutionist Stone. Do you know how many times they used it? Like 4.
Well, hold on. I used the entirety of my stone. Thank you.
And Sean was the only one.
I crumbled that stone to dust by the time I was done with it.
What does a Philosopher's Stone do?
It was a custom magic item that
okay.
did amazing things.
Had all sorts of crazy spells.
Yeah, it came preloaded with all kinds of crazy spells. I gave them the ability to transmute magic, basically by holding the Philosopher's Stone. You could expend charges to not have any material components, right? It would just replace material components per charge, right? I allowed them to upcast spells beyond their own magical limits by using charges from the stone. I allowed them to expand areas to, like, it was a dream. And like, they didn't use one, so it was like, okay, here's some more. Here's
hoarding it.
You give players magic items, consumable magic items, and they won't use them. My parties are filled to the brim with fucking potions that they don't use.
I use them. Thank you very much.
Well, you're a better person than everyone else then. My fucking players are walking around with like 40 pounds of potions, and they're like, I don't know, let's just store them in our house. We'll never use them.
It is kind of true. Mike was not very happy about.
Honestly, Neal, like a lot of that, it comes down to you got to give people enough consumable magic items to the point where they're like, okay, we're gonna get weighed down if we don't start using some of these, right?
That's what my PCs did, but then they just left him in their house and left. They're like, it's too much.
Honestly,
put it in the basement.
Then they deserve to die. They're just bad adventurers.
It's just. Right. It's the elixir problem from Final Fantasy. You get this thing, oh, this is going to be great. Yes. I'll use it in an emergency, and then it's not an emergency ever, and then
that's me in Final Fantasy to a T. I have every item in the game stored up.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of that mentality there, and people just need to remember, like, hey, unlike in Final Fantasy, if we lose a fight, it's over.
There's no loading your save.
Yeah.
And there's also no like, well, this is a problem. Let me see what magic items I have that can help me solve it. Oh, here, this potion of spider climb. Let's do something with that. It's more like, well, we can only get one person to the roof, so this is useless. Let's just all go in through the front door and fight everything. You know,
that is a fair issue with certain magic items. It's like when you can only apply it to one person, it's like, well, then what's the fucking point? Like, if we can't do it as a group, there's no use for this.
I know, but there's so many amazing opportunities where you could be like, we're trying to find this information. Oh, I'll just use this potion of spider climb. I'll go to the top of this tower at night and then hang out there and it'll be fine.
Yeah. Although I will say, Neal, if you really want to get people to start using items, throw out a bunch of wands. Throw out just a bunch of wands, and when people start having a bunch of wands, they're gonna be like, all right, how can I use these things?
That's true.
Wands are overpowered though.
A lot of spells,
not overpowered, but extremely powerful.
Yeah.
Another option is to start destroying magic items. So like if you throw them into water and make them and like ruin their potions, they may get less attached to them and realize that these are easy come, easy go, so just drink them.
That's true. Like a dispel magic is going to straight up destroy your potions. Like they're gone forever. So
like hoarding potions isn't going to be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Less incentivized if like every time you cross a river, there's a risk of ruining your potions and scrolls.
This is one thing that I actually give a lot of credit to Hackmaster for, that they get it, because when they had the whole loot table under adventures, they specifically call out like more than half of all of the special equipment you give to your players should be consumables. Like you should be giving them lots of potions, lots of wands. Some of them are going to be cursed, but you should be giving them lots of things that they're supposed to spend and replace. That's yeah.
It doesn't work as well in Neal's campaigns though, where it's kind of like a low magic world, and therefore any potions or wands would, by essence, be like rare and hard to come by. Right?
I think that's an excellent point, Nick. Like when I play with Neal, or at least when I was playing in Hardcore Heroes, especially, it was, I guess Hardcore Heroes was different when I was playing, so maybe a little skewed. We were still kind of by the book back then, but the world felt such that potions and scrolls and magic items were incredibly rare and like priceless.
Yeah, there is some setting aspect to that.
Using them for anything less than like the best possible purpose felt like you were kind of wasting this priceless thing you may never see again.
Well, I think part of it is that because in that game you don't buy them, right? It's also a game where it's like, do not let players buy special equipment. They should find all of the good shit on adventures.
Yeah.
But I think part of breaking out of that is like the reason I think part of it is consumables, because Hackmaster assumes a low magic world, and it's like because consumables are by far and away the easiest ones to make. Like somebody can even like nobody knows how to make permanent magic items anymore, but some people can still make consumable magic items. Wands are still producible in the modern era. Scrolls are still producible in the modern era. That's why there's so many more scrolls and wands than you'll ever find of like actual like magic swords.
It's a good way of putting it.
The requirements to make even just wands and scrolls though in D&D are so high.
Yeah.
Scrolls are pretty easy.
Well, yeah, actually,
Once
scrolls
you're
are
at
level
9th
7.
level, you can make scrolls and potions.
Yeah, but how many 9th level wizards are really knocking about in Arcadia? Like, it's not that.
Neal
Well-
keeps killing them off.
Well, yeah, there's one less now.
Well, okay, but consider that again, you're supposed to find all of your stuff lying around in old decrepit tombs. Now it's like it doesn't matter how many wizards there currently are in the world. It matters how many there were in the world, and if there were a lot of wizards, then there should be a lot of scrolls and potions lying around.
But if
Baseline
everyone's
D&D
using consumables rapidly, then the ones that were there are going to be gone, right?
Well, it's not everyone, right? It's adventurers.
Yeah.
And specifically only adventurers, which is a like crazy minority, right?
Yep.
There's not many adventurers in a D&D world. And
Yeah,
base D&D presupposes a very specific world building thing across all like D&D books, right? And that basic world building thing is that the world is ancient. Civilizations have arose and fallen, right, countless times, and
Yeah.
that out in the world are the remnants of these ancient civilizations, right? Like that baseline presupposition of the world is just inherent in the like
The
rules
mechanics of the
and the
game.
mechanics of
Yeah.
the game.
It's one of those things that they don't really tell you much about from a narrative standpoint, and you kind of have to figure out on your own, like, oh, this is actually important to making the logic of the game work.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought of it like that. But then how else do you explain that there's like a bunch of temples with a bunch of magic
Yeah, like all
items
these
just
abandoned
randomly
tombs
scattered all
full
over
of
the
like
place,
crazy old minted coins from kingdoms nobody knows about, and like magic scrolls everywhere, just raining from the ceiling. Like, how else do you explain that?
I think
Times
that
go in, times
presupposition
go out.
also
You
helps
can't explain
you
that shit.
build encounters, right? Like it gives you that space for the places for adventurers to go and a reason for them to go out there. And modern gaming has shifted a lot, right? And modern gaming presupposes slightly differently than it used to, as play shifts more and more to these are my 4 characters and we're gonna tell a romantic story. Ha! Segues, kind of, not really. You don't know that. It is. Anyway, they're gonna tell a romantic story about their like heroic journey through the world, right?
Yeah.
It's a very different style of play presupposition than like we're gonna go raid tombs and bring back gold and magic so that we can go raid different tombs that are harder and bring back more gold and magic, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think that's also probably one of those things, because the whole idea of the overarching narrative was not as important back in
Right.
like older D&D.
Right. It's a very modern take on games.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think that's probably one of those things of like, okay, well, they could go out and raid lots of tombs, but why? They could get more and more gold, but why? And I think that's, you don't really need a why, honestly. Like, you could probably make a really good campaign where it's like, you want to go out because you're adventurers and you like money. There you go. Like, make a character who wants lots of gold, and you're good to go.
Yeah. The narrative drive behind a lot of campaigns, I think, it's hard to keep going right the whole time. Sometimes the fact that power for power's sake is the easiest way to explain the desire for the adventurers to keep going back out.
I wonder if that's part of why, like, the West Marches as a concept got so viral. At least viral in the context of the tabletop community, which is incredibly small. But, like, I see everybody talking about the West Marches nowadays. I wonder how much of that is, like, because the West Marches is, in a lot of ways, a throwback to that old school style of gaming. Like, it's a lot of it is not particularly out there in that respect, and I think a lot of people are like, whoa, like they're on a frontier and they just like go out and explore for the sake of exploring, and they get lots of gold for the sake of getting gold. This sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool concept.
I have such a desire to run a West Marches campaign. Like, I really want to. I've tried it twice before at like I tried it once at Ancient Wonders, my local game shop, and that I thought would work because there were always people around and they could like pick up and drop off whenever they wanted. I was friends with the people that ran Ancient Wonders. It was cool. And like, I ran another one where I got a group of friends, about 12. I put them all in a text group. And then I said, okay, here's the deal. I'm always open to run games on these times. Find X amount of people that want to play, hit up the text group and like we'll play whenever. And in both instances, it started out like, hey, people are playing and having fun. And then it devolved into these 3 players play every week on Saturday. And maybe once a month somebody else joins.
Yep.
And everyone else kind of doesn't. And instead of a like West Marches style campaign, it really just became a like these 3 characters are in the wilds
with a guest every week.
With a guest, and they're doing their like adventure, right? It became the story of these 3 characters running around the wilds.
I had the exact same experience. that was what happened with me. And that's honestly one of the big criticisms I have. It's like it's my players schedule my games for me. I didn't have to do any of that. I'm like, I would murder you to adopt your players. Like I would straight up kill you if it meant I could have your players.
Yeah. So, but like, there's a part of me that's like, I have a Discord. There's technically people in it, although you wouldn't know for the amount of chat. I'm like, what if we use Discord?
I don't know why that tickled me so much, but it really did.
What if we use Discord as like the communal hub and everyone could discuss like the game and what was going on, and so everyone was always up to date, and the people could be like, that's exciting, I want to go explore the Red Hills, ooh, right? And then we'd get groups together and then we would play, and it just sounds so great, and I want to run it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to put a ton of work into making that happen, and then it just won't happen.
Or Sean will show up every week, and
it'll be the Sean show.
The campaign of him building his castle in the Red Hills.
Honestly, that's kind of how it goes. I show up to guest on something, and then Neal's like, "Hey, could you make it next week too?" And then by the end, it's like I was one of the main characters.
See, you should have just made a crappier character that died in the second session.
Okay, honestly, I literally took like maybe 30 minutes making my character. I went onto Discord on like the Neal Discords, right? So I wasn't going to like some crazy power gaming setup, and I was like, hey, I want to make like an archer, but I don't want to be a ranger. How can I make that good? And people were like, yeah, just play like the archer setup fighter, like do a champion or a battle master or something. And then it worked. It did not take very much work.
No, it did
ban
not.
the feet.
Ban the feet right away. Never come back.
I mean, okay, I would have found the feat myself. Like it's by far and away the best choice if you're playing the archer, right? Unless you're gonna go crossbow specialist.
I saw somebody like tally up the damage that Quincy had done in all the episodes. Like, and the average per shot was like 24 damage. It's like average like 15 kills an episode.
I remember. Oh my god, I had a round where I pulled off like 74 damage on a ghost. Like just in one round, because I shot it twice and then action surged and shot it 2 more times, and it just took like 70 damage right away.
Crazy times.
The good old days. Last year, 2 years ago.
I'm amazed you had everyone rolling for stats, because you were like, I was like, should I do point buy? Like, is that something that we're doing? You're like, oh no, just do it however. And I rolled 46, and the very first thing I got was an 18. So I was like, all right, you did this to yourself, Neal.
Yeah. Well, I like rolling for stats, even if it does produce broken characters. A lot of my players have been showing up to games with 18s in the last month, or last couple months, I want to say.
Is this 5e though? Because that's much more.
2e and 5e, both of them. They roll 40,
You've been giving
61,
people too
and
much.
there's a lot of convenient 18s that show up when I'm
you
not
don't have
rolling
them roll
with them.
in chat or publicly?
No, they'll they'll roll in some document, and I'll go back and there'll be an 18, but I won't scroll far enough up in the chat to see if there were maybe other characters rolled that got
should really just
thrown
roll the
away.
stats on stream. They can make the characters off stream.
Yeah.
Like even for
Even when-
dicing with death, I roll. And like even if I roll physical dice, I often try, even if you can't read it with a webcam, I'll try to like position the webcam so you can see the dice rolls.
Yeah, but that's for a campaign, Neal. You're just talking about for one-shot battles, right?
No, I'm talking about campaign. Well, I mean, most of them like shenanigans, but also for campaigns.
Who cares about shenanigans?
Desperate Measures characters rolled on screen and have been rolling uncomfortably well.
Well, I felt so. As soon as I saw him roll 2 18s, I was like, "You're fucking dead." There's no way Neal's letting you survive more than 15 episodes. Of that.
You made Millman's character with Millman, right? The one where he got like 2 or 3 natural 18s.
Yeah, he rolled that in Roll20 with like me, Dan, I think Faye, I don't know, somebody. There were like 4 of us in here, and we were just like, holy shit. Like, it was unreal, the luck on those dice. It was hot.
Like that was beyond Van Helsing levels of stupid.
Oh my god! And he died. How did he die?
He jumped into a pool of acid.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he jumped into a pool. It wasn't acid. It was magic. Anyway,
Magic acid.
So in this setting, there are like rifts of ancient magic that come from other worlds, right? And this is like the main crux of the game. Like they were seekers seeking out rift magic from other worlds, right? So they found one, right, in the bottom of an ancient dwarven hold that had long since been abandoned by the great dwarven diaspora. And like they fought off all these corrupted like goblins and shit, and they found this awful, ugly pool bubbling and twirling in turmoil, yellows and greens and clearly corrupted. And they, some kind of magic purified it, right? And in doing so, unlocked the spell that was inside of it. And a magic sword rose up, introduced itself as a talking
Esteban
flying
Montague
sword.
Garcia
Esteban, yes, Esteban Montague Garcia IV, the greatest swordsman who ever lived. Anyway, and so like this very clearly magical pool radiating rift magic that they could feel through their seeker marks gave them a magic sword, and the first thing Millman does is go, I jump in the pool. And then the best part is I'm like, oh shit, what? He's like, I dive in, how is it? Like, it's good and then I start describing how the spell starts, and there's this typhoon going on, and then Sean the cleric is like, I'm gonna go walk to the back of the cave, maybe there's something interesting over there. And then like Dan's like, I read my book, and I don't know what Faye was doing. Faye didn't even help, and she's usually like the Johnny on the spot of the group. And suddenly I have the like best fighter I've ever seen in a pool of like magical death and no one helping him. I'm like, well, roll an athletics check. Let's see if you save. And that's how we got a +8 magic mace that was sentient for the rest of the campaign.
+8?
Yep.
We didn't use that much.
Holy shit.
We didn't even
I
use
added
that
up
much.
his bonus to hit on his character sheet, and since it was his character that got turned into the mace, I gave that to be the magical property of the
It's
mace.
pretty funny.
It was.
It didn't break the game as much as I would have expected.
I'm pretty good about balancing games. I
That's
feel like
summary.
you didn't give me enough credit for like actually being kind of competent.
No, I hold on. When did I ever call you out for unbalanced design? I was surprised by the +8 mace, but like it wasn't like, God, Greg over here just breaking the game.
Yeah.
Like it was like, wow, I did not see that coming. Wow.
I think 2 specifically says you can never enchant an item to greater than +5.
Yeah,
5e is
5e
plus
says
5e,
that.
not even bother with that. Does 5e?
No, 5e says that. I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, there's like the Holy Avengers get +10 versus certain creatures, right?
The
Yeah.
rules are guidelines anyway. Who cares
Yeah.
what the books say? Yeah.
Yeah.
I dislike the 5e approach of every bonus to hit magic item or every bonus to hit weapon as a magic weapon. It's like,
It's a lot about 5e that's annoying. All the classes are the same, I find. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's just got like a do d8 plus your ability modified
Yeah.
damage.
Yeah.
that was I mean that was a really common complaint when 5e came out, right? That was one of the most common complaints I saw when it was still new, was like, my ranger feels the same as the spellcaster, except the spellcaster also gets AoE spells.
Well,
Yeah.
the idea is to make everyone balanced and everyone be equally useful in combat. So everyone gets the same attack roll and the same damage roll, essentially. A little bit different here, a little bit different there. And that way everyone is equally powered. And you don't have the problem of, he's the 5th level fighter, there's the 5th level wizard, and I'm the 5th level rogue who can't do anything in combat. You know, it avoids
Man.
some of the problems.
I feel like rogues get a bad rap. I love me some rogues and bards.
Yeah, but in 2nd edition, especially, the rogues are just not nearly as combat capable as the other characters. They don't have the HP, they usually don't have the armor, and they don't have the damage output.
Do you not think though? I've always wondered in second edition, right? Just make it so that you get sneak attack against opponents from behind, and you
No,
kind of fix the rogue.
no, Bad Nick. Bad
Why?
Nick, you're ruining it. No. If that's the case, then Rogue is all of a sudden as good as a fighter in combat. And the whole point is second edition is that like you have archetypal
Yeah, but
characters.
that's what you were just complaining about. I agree
No,
with
what
you.
I'm
It's
complaining
fine
about is
that
the
rogues.
I don't give a shit if the rogue is weak in combat. I'm comfortable with the rogue being a non-combat specialist who is maybe not as useful in combat, and that's where they belong. They belong in the like other stuff, the like skills and utilities and information gathering and sneaking in hard to get places and the quick takedown assassinations. That's the domain of the rogue.
Right?
The biggest issue that I've always run into with that is partially that like the whole like sabotage and intrigue aspect of D&D is often very tacked on and not well thought out on a mechanical level. So the main thing that makes the rogue is often not very well designed.
I don't think that sabotage and intrigue is what makes the rogue the rogue. Anyone can roleplay intrigue. Anyone can sabotage.
You get what I mean, because rogues are all about like the duplicity and the stealth.
I don't agree.
Well, anyone can be in combat too, but we would all agree that the domain of combat belongs to the fighter typically.
Sure,
You know,
but the
rogues
domain
can
of
do-
intrigue belongs to any player at the table. The
Rogues
domain
will do like accessing things that you're not supposed to access. Is sort of the way that I like to think of rogues. You know, they're the like, infiltrator or the spy.
I think my favorite thing that Lamentations of the Flame Princess did was they stopped naming the class the thief and they named it the expert. And I think that's probably the closest you can come to what the archetype is they're the person who has all of the utility skills.
Yeah.
And it just kind of turns out that a lot of those skills are very niche in application. And also the way they're designed, it's like, okay, you roll a die and you have a binary success or failure, and that's it. it's not particularly interesting. Whereas like wizards, like you get all these cool AoE spells, and fighters like you can make like 5 attacks around, but then the expert's like, yeah, you have like a 60% chance to pick locks, and it's not it's not exciting and it's not fun. And also like especially with stealth, like stealth checks work until suddenly they don't, and you're just kind of like you're just kind of fucked, especially because the rules don't really give you a better way to handle that, where it's like, oh, you failed a stealth check, they're on to you have a chance to like jump in this crevice or to like try and hide outside the window of like cascading failures. The game doesn't tell you to do that, and I
that's something the DM has to sort of come up with on their own, and a
That's
clever
why
DM can make it
I
work.
steal liberally from 4E, because 4E specifically has cascading failures and like cascading successes as an explicit rule that you can steal, and I use that a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like the idea of the archetype. I don't think it mechanically translated very well into Dungeons and Dragons.
But in
That's
traditional
the
D&D, you
biggest
need a rogue to like
Yeah, see, I think
traps
because
and
you're
open chests, right?
Yes.
Nick, I think is close to the point here. Is that rogue? You're trying to put rogues in a box they don't belong in. Rogues are an essential part of the exploring a dungeon and retrieving loot aspect of the game.
They became that, but originally it was just, I guess everybody can do what the rogue can, right? Because originally D&D was like, yeah, no, anybody can look for traps, anybody could try to like pick a lock, and then it was this idea of like, what if we made actual rules for that?
But the rogues are the best at it, right? Anyone can.
Well, when the thief came in, they were the only ones who could do it because nobody else even had a rule for it.
Everyone can do the basic. I look, I check, I do this. The rogue toolkit is something that no one else has because they can do it when it. So like, let's look at something really basic that is just like clearly a yes or no, right? So yes or no, can I climb over this wall? Right? Everyone can climb over that wall if they have proper gear. They have a athletics or some kind of climbing-based proficiency check. Everyone can do that with gear. If you do not have gear, the only person who can attempt to climb a sheer wall is a rogue. They have a specific tool set for that. And that is the same across all of their like skills, right? Everyone in the group can do the most basic level, but rogues have a specific called out tool set for things that other characters would not be able to do and accomplish.
Where it gets ugly or weird is if there's no rogue in the party, the tendency for most DMs to be like, whatever, roll a dex check.
Right.
And then it sort of undermines even the existence of that class.
That does, and I think those DMs should not allow that. They should say, no, you're stuck until you find a solution.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But then you run into problems like, what do you say? You can easily run into problems in game where having a class or a spell or an ability would make this easier, and without it, it just becomes mucky, and so you want the party to be able to get through it anyway. You know, like, if there's not a cleric in the party, surprisingly, all of a sudden there's going to be enough encounters that the people are going to be able to heal anyway. And then you add into the cleric in the party, and now maybe the pace picks up because you have healing.
And that's it's same, like, when there's no rogue in the party, you don't lock important things behind a locked door, unless you also build the key into the system or something like that.
Right, because the game is supposed to be built around whatever the party is doing is what should be having fun.
I agree with that as a concept, but the idea here is that when the party runs into the sheer cliff wall and the locked door, the answer is not roll a dex check. The answer is you have run into a problem you do not have the solution for. And maybe as a DM, you should not have put that in that position, right? But if you do, the party does not have the tools for it.
We know what they should do. They should use one of the fucking potions that the DM handed out earlier to go solve the goddamn problem.
Of spider climb and ethereal hand grabbage.
Right, and then you spider climb to the top and you drop the rope down for the rest of the party.
Yeah.
Yep. Problem solved.
All right, I have a list of topics for us to do today. It's only one topic long.
Well, then I should ignore mine then. Okay.
Oh, no. We'll go through this one quickly. But I feel like we should just address the death of Malachi in some small way.
I feel like... Go on, then.
I feel like it needs to be done.
Sure.
Okay.
If the crying in Discord is anything to go by, then yes.
It does. No, there was a lot of... I've seen a lot of salt. I've also just seen a lot of people who are like, hey, I get what happened here. I'm very upset about it, though. And that's totally fair.
That's what I want. I want people to be upset about it.
I saw it yesterday, too. Somebody made a post about how, like, it was very frustrating because Malachi's death felt very...
I read that, too, yeah.
Not narratively satisfying. And I'm like, I get that. But I also think that's one of the dangers of Dungeons and Dragons. Like, even in like games that try to be narrative first, like Powered by the Apocalypse games, you have just as much capability of dying in a stupid way that nobody cares about, and that's part of what makes that's part of the game aspect of the game, right? It's you make the story as you go, and sometimes it's not going to wind up being a satisfying narrative in your head. And I get why that upsets people, but it's also kind of a necessary.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not going to work out perfectly. Sometimes you die in a terrible way doing nothing of importance. Sometimes you die saving someone's life by
in the case of Malachi, I think if you look at it, like him dropping that stinking cloud is what got him killed, but it's also the reason that it wasn't my
stinking cloud, by the way.
We would have lost.
I agree that if the dragon had come before the beholder, we'd have had a much better chance. The fact that it came in the same round.
It did come before the beholder. We just stunned it for 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if they would have shown up at the same time otherwise.
They weren't gonna. It was gonna be a couple of waves. Beholder was gonna give you the last one.
It was a very clear, like, here are 3 spikes in power from Neal, right? There was the dragon, spike 1, there was the gatebreakers, spike 2, and then there was beholder, spike 3. He had clearly created 3 waves with like high danger and a bunch of ads, and we screwed that up by CCing a spike.
I think it would have been fine if I hadn't sent it back around the cliff wall. I think that was the mistake I made. We should have kept it in line of sight before I stunned it.
It was fine. I felt like it was narratively.
Yeah, like Malachi dropping that stinking cloud,
and like it's not totally over. We still, like some resolution to have.
3 demons escaped, all of them wounded. Like that was the entirety of their surviving side, and that only happened because of cloud kill.
Yeah, but if the dragon goes and kills the barrier, then.
But every single crew won, so there's still, and there's also backup crews on retainer for exactly that reason.
That dragon, though, I mean, if it's smart, though, right, it can literally move further than any people and just wipe the whole party in one round before they even see it.
Maybe.
Well, I think another thing to take into account here is even if the barrier goes down, the number of demons is now very low, right? You guys have managed to cull a huge number of them.
Like, we also have 1 backup crystal, so 1 pylon can go down, and that's fine. And we have backup crews ready to go. Like, it's a rough situation. It's not the crushing victory I think we all wanted, but like I saw somebody was like, I guess this is it for Arcadia. It's like, I'd like to question this narrative here.
It's
So did
one
we
of those
save the
areas
world,
where
then?
it's not like clear success and clear failure. It's more of like, incremental success or incremental failure.
This was, frankly, I think that session ended about as well as it could have. I don't know if we could have swung that any better in our favor.
I'm gonna have to disagree with that one, Chief.
Clearly, you needed more darts.
Yeah, right. Another
Needed
34
about
rounds.
32 on odd rounds.
I mean, all I'm saying is the only reason we even killed the Beholder is because we had a legend among fighters leap off of a cliff and pancake it to death.
That was good. That was good.
Hey, that was a
You
taste
can
of
only
Neal's own
throw
medicine.
so many living people off of a cliff to smush your opposition.
And I'm glad you guys used it yourselves.
Yeah. One thing I haven't seen mentioned is Neal actually nerfed the dragon's breath weapon. By the books, red dragons have they do like 20d10 plus 10.
Plus 10.
You
Is it
nerf the damage by 10.
I nerfed
Isn't
it
it
by 10.
24d6? No.
I did
No,
20
red
D10.
dragons are d10s, and they also have a
okay.
bonus based on age category.
Yeah.
I
And this was not
he was
a carbon copy of a red
really
dragon.
DM
This was-
hacks. Like, you were pulling your punches. You took off its wings. You nerfed its breath weapon.
Well, it also, we didn't really get into this, but anyone who attacks it in melee automatically sustains d12 damage for coming too close to it, because it's just emitting heat from its whole body.
Do red dragons have that, or is this
No,
your...
that's the lava worm, the fire worm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think the goal was for as few people to engage it in direct melee combat as possible.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe if we had staggered it properly, it might have gone better. But like, I burned through almost all my spells during that fight. Like,
Yeah, I had a couple of spells left. I think we
Yeah,
could have probably killed it if we had a round to all focus it. But aside from doing that, I
mean-
wonder what other...
yeah.
You
Anyways,
probably
like,
shouldn't have
Brigade
ran
Antrax
into that
wanted to-
entangle.
Yeah, I don't know about
Like,
that
I
decision.
didn't understand that move at all.
Because, right, so here's the thing. The demon with the 2 attacks could have pretty easily killed me if it got both of its attacks on me.
Yeah.
I had no stone skin, no mirror image. I only had 18 life.
No, I think you made that was a really good call. I think you were banking on it either not breath weaponing you or like not being able to get it through the barrier, right?
Yeah, the barrier's stopping it, yeah. Or maybe just leaving me alone.
Not to backseat game, but I think what you should have done is go over towards the barrier, crawl down along the side of the wall, and then move back across the barrier and just like clutch to the wall like a spider.
Oh yeah,
I
your
think
spider climb. Like,
There's a couple
yeah.
of things that I could have done. I think maybe I could have used the one of size alteration to increase my size, which might have broke the entangle.
Yeah.
And then I could have walked out.
You know, there's a lot of things, and it's really easy to sit behind a player and criticize the things they do and tell them what they're doing wrong. And it's a lot harder to actually be the player and make those decisions.
Well, and in the heat of the
in a
moment,
high
and you've got
situation.
to do one thing in the round.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the DM's yelling at you that the rounds are taking too long.
Yeah. And honestly, I thought for such a snap decision, running into the entangle was pretty clever. Like that was a neat idea.
I think the demon would have killed me if it attacked me.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
it
I think you're right. It
Probably.
probably would have killed you.
+7 to hit, D8 plus 3 damage, 2 attacks.
Like, and you had AC what, 10, 14?
14.
Yeah.
You
so-
might have been better off getting killed though. Like, if you got KO'd by a demon, you're going to be at like negative something HP.
Yeah.
Probably not going to
hindsight.
eat you that
Maybe.
second.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Van can come heal you.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Would
or
have
he rolls
left
like
the
a
dragon
20.
with a breath weapon.
I think narratively
On the
this is
rest of the
interesting.
party.
We've got a dead Malachi. Rules as written. Van can raise him from the dead.
Anyways,
We've got this lovely scene of the cleric standing over him.
so
praying
you
to
did
the
say that you wanted.
gods.
You did say you want to talk about it though, Neal. Like, what did you want to address?
I
No,
just
you didn't
wanted
want
to
to talk
address.
about that bit.
I just wanted to address the issue. Give maybe Nick some room to grieve over his character.
I don't know, but I guess I'm trying not to be salty about it. I feel alright, I guess. It was funny going into work the next day because I went straight to bed and then went into work and I was so like bummed out and I was like trying to tell the people I work with about it and they just didn't get it. The boss was just like, "What a stupid game after 4 years, you just like drop some spikes on you and kill you." Like, why would anyone do that? It's like, fine, fuck off then.
Oh, they don't get it.
Nobody gets it, yeah.
But if there's no threat of character death, it's not.
Yeah,
but people who
There's
don't
no
play don't
stakes.
get that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plenty of people play D&D with like no. risk
Yeah, I was
at
gonna
all.
That's true. A lot of people play
often don't
D&D
get
where
that.
like everybody comes back from the dead all the time.
yeah.
Or like all the
Very
encounters are
anime.
balanced, or like
Yeah.
right? And you just never...
Balanced encounters. What a ludicrous notion.
All right. Do we need to talk about this?
No. If it's too painful, we can move on.
No, it's not too painful. We can talk about it.
But you got something you want to talk about, don't you, Nick? Sean?
No, yeah, go on, Sean. Yeah, what do you want to say?
Oh no. Finish the Malachi subject. I was making a joke because we talked about that last week or some number of weeks ago.
When do we get to find out what happens? Are you going to schedule a Hardcore Heroes, or is this
Yeah,
just like
we'll definitely need to do a little bit more Hardcore Heroes, at least see what's going on after all this happens.
right? Because even if you don't let him res, like that's got to something. There's got to be some consequence, right?
Yes.
Right? Does the spell not get granted? Does he cast it and get smote? Does
This stuff we'll have to figure out, but it'll have to be somewhere in
Malachi
March.
come back as a wraith?
Yeah. I'm gotta wait until Outpost Santa
Does
Barbara's
Van
in
travel
a-
back in time and convince Joris to give him the Scroll of Resurrection?
Well, I mean, you've
thinking,
got Raised Dead is perfectly adequate, right?
Yeah, no, but
And this
like
is
if I
Hardcore
don't get
Heroes.
a
It's
spell,
supposed to be rules as written, but I guess you transitioned
It
out.
hasn't been rules as written in a long time.
In a long
like as
time.
soon as Greg died, they were like, "Look, we got the stick in the mud out of here. Let's twitch these
Well,
rules
okay.
up real fucking fast."
It was a little while after that.
we changed. Okay, hold on. We changed the rules.
Changed, I think, when I came, right? With the
Yeah,
crossover
so
with-
we added the new spells after you died, Greg, but then we didn't go like full away from base 2e until I think Other Side.
So I had a pretty good idea for what we could do, right? So every day, Sean, you sacrifice a level 4 spell slot to cast Solipsism. And I'll just play Malachi, right? So you just basically Solipsism Malachi, but I won't interact with anything, and all I'll do is just talk over the encounters. But
You
because
can't.
it'll be because it'll
Solipsism
be
doesn't have the
Solar
sound.
systems don't produce noise.
Oh,
That's
no.
why I was. Yeah, it's just not the
but
same.
I
Sign
thought it would
language.
have been funny.
You'll need to
because
research a greater solipsism that can talk.
It would have been a
Well, what I
sort
can
of
do.
image of Malachi, and so he would have been a lot more polite and friendly to people than he actually would have been because it was actually Van's.
What I
image of
can
it.
do, Nick, I think I can sustain your body for a while. So if it's like I could give you Raised Dead on these conditions, I might be able to stretch out that duration a little while.
Yeah.
I think it'll be something more exciting. I think like the Angel of Death will descend and murder everyone, or
I had another
we'll
good
see what
idea.
happens.
Would have been just because Sean's legendary lawyering would have just been a courtroom episode where it's Van Helsing making a case for
The
Malachi's
gods.
resurrection to
I mean,
like
Van's-
Chiefs and like Falumbra and everyone else like that.
I think Van's whole shtick was kind of laid out in that one sense. Like we've given everything to save the world from a demon incursion that's
are
ripping
the gods
everybody's
going to be
souls out
like,
of the cycle.
Dan, there's some things you don't know about your friend Malachi.
Yeah,
well, that would
I
come
think
up in the court case, right? It'd be funny.
Yeah, I think Van is just gonna be like, look, we stopped this demon incursion almost in its entirety. I feel like we've earned a little bit of leeway here. I think that's
but
the
he's a
entirety
little
of the
bit
court
racist
case.
against dwarves. You know, how can I bring someone back who's racist against dwarves?
Well,
That'll be
you know,
the end of that, right?
Malachi's really developed on this issue.
He has. Thanks,
What if he
yeah,
gets
I,
reincarnated as a dwarf?
Ooh. That'd be rough
worth
because he'd
it.
lose all his
Send me
spells.
back.
Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, no spells. That would suck.
Mm-hmm.
Put me in the staff. That'll be all right. I'll just talk to
Yeah, I
them.
don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
I have an interesting idea that I think would be really fun. But I don't know if anyone else would enjoy it. It might be just really fucking annoying to play and very annoying to watch. And I don't know if it's actually a good idea. But in my mind, it would be a really cool place to go from here. So I gotta think on it. There's this like shitty wedding that I gotta go to later in this month and some other stuff. So next month we'll do some hardcore heroes.
Cool.
Chad also mentions you owe us a wedding flashback for Van.
Yeah, we gotta do that at some point.
Royal
If we have
wedding.
to deal with your wife and kid.
Yeah, we gotta figure out what's going on there.
Yeah.
Neal, are you at all worried about killing my character after 4 years and then me coming to visit you in like 2 weeks? Like, what if I just like? What if I just?
I'm not worried in the slightest.
No, that's good.
You still have an 18 strength fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the trouble with losing a high level wizard, now maybe Nick can sympathize here, is all that prep, all that bookkeeping is just like, oh my god. I have so many chat helped me with Georg stuff too. There's all these like spreadsheets of spells and spell research and potions and all these ingredients.
And I was just like, well, fuck it.
Yeah, right.
It's gone.
It's the same as when Yaramir died in Frofro. It's like the loss of potential. I mean, in fact, in Yaramir's case, it was for the remaining for William and Grimes, but in my eye, it's just like, you know, you're never gonna. There's some stuff that you can only do with.
Neal's got the memory of a fish, so he never all the like it could have been cool treasure hoards for future parties, or like magic items and magic potions and scrolls that get passed on properly to hardcore heroes. And he's like, I don't remember what you find. You get all of his loot. It's whatever.
Yeah,
that's where you're like, oh yeah, my lightsaber that I researched, that was in the chest.
Yeah, totally. I remember that. Go ahead. Purple crystal, right? Okay. Yeah.
I was much more sad when Krob died because I had like
had machinations.
Many more plans for him. Yaramir was just gonna like live out another like 10 sessions and die anyway, and then like I would have been so much more excited to see Krob and all my like myriads of schemes and plans for that.
I'm interested how that would have worked out in the long run in terms of Van's morals and Krob's shenanigans, because there was already a lot of tension that was developing there, and then it kind of went down again, but I feel like at some point that was going to rear its ugly head.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
I think it would have been fun. That would have been a really good one.
Yeah, it's so tragic just thinking back to the dice rolls. Like, that encounter should not have gone against us.
It was unlucky, and like I'd take more blame than you do for that one, because in my head, planning out that encounter, I had like contingency plans of like, okay, so there's a chance that she may not be adequately seduced by my flubber-like body. And so I need to make sure that I like separate her from her axes, and like if I need to, like I'll like place myself in such a position so that she has to get through me to get to them, and then like this, and then like I had like okay, so if I need a quick escape, then like I can do this, and I'm pretty sure Nick has invisibility, so this will, and like I had gone through like these backup contingency plans in my brain, and then I got there and I went, I'm a big dumb thief. Hello.
It still should have worked though.
I killed your best friend. Join me.
Good times.
It was.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it did work out. Somebody said like, I don't think Malachi and Van ever would have become as close as they did if Krob was still around, and it's like, yeah, I think that's very true.
We almost wiped the whole campaign that next very episode, because that's when
the Chimera came down. Yeah,
rolled the Chimera. Yeah. By all accounts, that should have been the end of it. I don't know how we won that. Well, actually, I did.
Remember when we fought another Chimera after that? And that went much faster.
Yeah.
The dogs were just like
Baron
so
Wolf
MVP.
hold their weight. Yeah.
Did you realize how OP that was going to be, Neal, when you allowed it?
Dogs?
The two dogs.
They weren't that overpowered. They had some good rolls, and they were useful, but they didn't break the game.
Ultra spear damage before ultra spears existed. So I just think Neal got the idea.
That was the genesis of the kobolds.
66 damage.
Honestly, I think it was nice because we weren't gonna be like, let's get a whole team of dogs and let's have like 20 dogs in every fight. It was like we had 2 guard dogs, and it worked out really well.
It did work out well.
It was fun.
It was a nice alternative to getting new players.
Right.
Midway through a story.
Yeah, and you got to that point where like we had clearly leveled up past the dogs, and the dogs were not long for the world anymore. And then I think we lost one to a crocodile and lost another to a giant.
I still think back to the I could have used the web spell to save the dog when he got thrown by the giant. Right, I could have made a web in the air to stop the dog getting killed.
A baseball glove.
Nightmares a lot.
Yeah.
Poor bear.
Poor dog.
I mean, Van got chucked by that giant too.
Oh yeah, you got yeeted so hard. That was great.
and that's how we discovered a weighty chest on the armor plate.
No, giants don't Kobe, they yeet.
They go for power.
What I thought was funny about that, so when the giant threw you and then picked me up and was running off with it, Bastian's character ran back to Van and she's like, I think they take Malachi, should we just go back? And you were like, no, I'm chasing after him. It's just like, yeah, fuck it. Jeeves had the balls to go and save me.
Didn't Jeeves like try to carve his way out of the bag?
Yeah. He tried to attack the giants, but just got captured in the bag with me. That was fun.
Oh, gee. Yeah, this is one of the reasons we definitely have to do another Hardcore Heroes episode, is we have to see what Jeeves does when he learns about Malachi's death.
So many drugs.
I'm not sure I can take that.
I feel like Jeeves is in like a state of semi-retirement. Like he's still on our staff, but he doesn't do
He's
a
not
whole lot,
cursed.
and he's
Yeah.
like he just does a ton of just egregious amounts of speed, just lots and lots of speed.
Jeeves was a great NPC.
Yeah, Jeeves is awesome.
How he survived all of that random. Do you remember that one time when we were trying to bait out goblins, and we at the last minute decided to just hire a different driver instead of Jeeves because it was too dangerous, and then the goblins opened by like rolling a
Killing
20
the driver.
to hit the driver with it. Yeah.
Remember
Jeeves.
him being banished to the other side, and I was desperately trying to keep him alive without showing favoritism to him because I had to manage
yeah.
like 80 people.
You had like secret food. Yeah, that was good. Oh man, that was stressful. That first episode of Other Side when you were like trying to work out whether to just like walk into the dragon's lair or not.
Would have done it.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else got another topic to bring forth? Greg,
I imagine
know you
Greg
have a
does.
list.
I have always a prepared like overarching topic. How much time do we have just out
Yeah.
of curiosity?
Well, on that point, I think I need to make a move.
You need to head out.
Yeah.
Alright.
But it's
Oh, well, that's too bad. Okay.
it's been good chat too. Well, unless you had something particularly you want to talk to me about, in which case.
Oh no, I just think it would be really hilarious for you to talk about romance in D&D because that was the suite of topics I have prepared, and that would have been absolutely
into that.
hilarious.
I'm not sure I've got a particular hot take on that.
Oh, but you are the best when it comes to that. The dry, sarcastic comments
yeah.
that come out of you are
I do, yeah. I do
chef's kiss.
pride myself in that. The whole first like 30 episodes of Hardcore Heroes was me just like trying to take the piss out of Jeeves. I spent most of my time thinking about.
Oh,
I did
man, I
enjoy
still
the-
remember when Van gave Jeeves 100 gold in case we died when we went to talk to the count. And then Malachi was like, Jeeves, that 100 gold is also from me.
Yes, well it
It was
was.
such a perfect Malachi moment.
Because it's not fair you trying to pay me as the bad guy all the time. Right? We both earned that gold.
Oh, man.
all right. Well, have a good night, Nick.
Yeah, see you
It
later,
was good
guys.
seeing you.
Good night,
See you,
Nick.
Nick.
Alright, in a bit.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to take a break. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
All right.
So, romance in
Romance.
D&D.
Yeah.
So
shit's hard,
last
man.
time we talked in Chit Chat, it was brought to the attention of all of us that our good friend the Hobgoblin was getting married, and in the interim, Wizards of the Coast announced a UA that got a lot of criticism online, and they introduced a love domain cleric. And I thought we could talk about that slightly. And we could also just kind of use that as a jumping off point to kind of discuss the use of like romance, desire, and sexuality in Dungeons and Dragons. However, that's like a big topic. I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 14 bullet points on it. So
Holy
like
shit.
we could also just like, I don't know, talk about our favorite NPCs for an hour or something. Like,
I can go a little bit later than usual because these are pretty short usually, right?
Yeah.
So I don't
Normally
mind
we'd
going over if we
wrap
need
up
to.
in 20 minutes, but there's no real time schedule here. You know, whenever you guys want to bounce, we can bounce. Romance is hard to do for a couple of reasons. One, people are inherently awkward when they're romancing other people as like on show. For faking reasons, it can be hard to take it seriously because it's so awkward when you're like flirting with your friends who you're not sexually attracted to anyway, but you're doing it for the sake of the game. And then it gets a little bit nervous, and so then you end up laughing, and it's easier to like roll romance into comedy than to try and do it proper. That said, I have seen just a few narrow instances of well done romance. Mostly from Misclick's Devotion. There were like, of course, the characters were supposed to be like in love together and dating and whatnot, but there was a side story between one of Anna's characters and an NPC, and they were both presumably like heterosexual males, in this world. But then like these two males sort of had this like weird thing on the side that started to develop, and it never really turned into anything, but there was a lot of like actual real palpable romantic tension between her character and this like random other guy. And that for me, they never said anything to each other. There was only like the implication. There were these conversations about other stuff that just really happened to work out well between them, and it wasn't an intentional thing. And that's like the one example of a good romance that happened, was between Guy and I can't remember Anna's character's name. But that was really well done. That was good. And other than that, romance always feels to me like it's too hard to do if you actually try to approach it. If you try to do the romance, it feels awkward, because then like it's Sean and I saying, "Baby, your eyes are so blue," and who can hear us talking like that to each other? You know,
think your eyes are blue too. I don't know. Your face is always just low resolution enough that I can never tell.
What I just did there is probably something that we should address, right? Because I think that to your first point, it can be awkward, right?
Awkward.
Dungeons and Dragons play groups have a kind of like, what is the word I'm looking for? Like reputation, I guess, as 14-year-old acneed children, all men, all boys, right? In their mom's basement with Cheetos and Mountain Dew, rolling dice. And
that's my demographic. Yeah.
Right.
And then you grow up and everything's the same, except you've discovered that Lay's are infinitely better than Cheetos.
And you've probably graduated to IPAs. I like Cheetos more than Lay's. Just
yeah,
FYI.
same here.
Yeah,
I don't know about that Lay's over Cheetos comment.
Flamin'
man.
hot Cheetos.
No,
The Flamin' Hot ones are pretty good. I like those too.
No.
But that's the like reputation that D&D groups have, and it was earned a little bit at one point. Like that was it wasn't every group, but it was a like very common like majority of D&D groups. And so bringing something like romance and desire and sexuality into your Dungeons and Dragons wasn't something that you were as interested in doing as a 14-year-old.
Or more often than not, it was roll for dick size, and I cast charm person on the prostitute.
Right. So it became that, right? It became the juvenile kind of jokes. And so I think when you bring romance into a campaign, you have to kind of agree to take it semi-seriously at the table, right? When people laugh, like I just did, your eyes are so blue, right? Like, like when I do that at the table, it can kind of kill the vibe of it and send us back to that. And I think as play groups have evolved and matured into kind of a more modern gaming, they've grown up a little bit from the 14-year-old acne boys in the basement, right? We're inclusive to a much wider demographic than ever before, and that's only going to keep happening. And there's, I think, something to be said for touching on those same subjects that we see in other media, right? We run into romance all the time in the novels that we read, in the movies and television shows that we watch, and there's no reason that we can't bring that into a tabletop session as well, especially as our interests are probably becoming more and more varied from the acne 14-year-old boys rolling for dick size. So I guess, yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I'm hoping to do that with Lysandra, like that. I do. Go and finish your thing before I.
No, go, please go.
Okay, I was just gonna say that I think part of it is that a lot of it has a lot of that stuff that kind of gave it the very puerile nature is because romance to that demographic was always sex, and it was just sex. It was very surface level sex. And I think one of the things that you need to make a compelling emotional romance is the partnership aspect of it. It's the fact that you have two people who presumably respect each other or completely hate each other is another interesting angle you can take for romance. But I think like the sexual component of it is an important part of relationships. But I think people forget that it's important for these to both be characters who are trying to make their way in the world working together. And I'm hoping that we get something like that between Van and Lysandra at some point.
Interesting.
Lysandra,
That's awesome.
Is that your wife?
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. It's like an
and
arranged marriage.
Like, Neal has given me very little of who Lysandra is, but she seems like she generally has her shit together and is like, I'm gonna take care of this and this. I need you to like do this. Like, she seems like a person who kind of like has her act together, and I respect that. So we'll see how it works out.
It'll be interesting. And now with Nick out of the way, we can really get into it, Sean.
just you and me, Neal.
It'll just be the two of us talking about the things that we want to do, where we want to go.
You've brought up another point that I think is an interesting aspect to DM trying to bring more of the like kind of romance, desire, sexuality into their campaigns. Is this idea of, man, it's really weird when Sean and Neal are like aggressively flirting with each other and like role playing out these intimate scenes. And I think that there's a concept that I see a lot when it comes to like violence in D&D and what we want to see at the table versus what we don't. And this idea of, I think it's called lines and veils, right? Where oftentimes groups will come together and agree that this is a line, we don't cross it, right? We don't see anything past this line, it ends. And like veils, we're like, this is acceptable in the game, but we kind of
skim over it.
We it fades into the background kind of thing, right? And I think that coming to some kind of agreement on the table, right, and saying, okay, Sean and Neal are not going to aggressively flirt at the table because it's weird and uncomfortable for both of them. And so what we're going to do instead is this happens in the game, right? And we're going to say Lysandra and Van are, they flirt through the night, they have a great time, and they bring up X, Y, and Z. It leads to X, Y, and Z, and then the next day, or at when the dinner ends, or now we pick back up, right? We kind of veil that topic, and I think that could be a good way to kind of overcome some of the awkwardness and the stuff that we were talking about, like the laughs and the giggles that kind of undercut the value of the romance to some extent. What are your thoughts on veiling romance a little bit, and maybe how much do we role play versus how much do we kind of let that kind of run in the background?
Flirting is rough. Flirting is very hard because I'm not smooth in real life, so it's very hard to be smooth in the game. And I know Neal's not smooth because I've seen him try to flirt in the game, and that was an exciting experience for everybody.
My flirting game is so good.
Yeah, for a real table, it can be totally fine, and like pulling a veil over something you're not comfortable doing, makes sense. For a stream D&D show, I think it's kind of tough, right? Because I feel like the entertainment quality suffers if, like, in some cases, if there's like this important love story that just gets hand waved over.
Yeah, I think it would help. I think it would help a lot with like private tables. But also, like, I think it's also just one of those things where, like, you can approach the topic tastefully. Like, it's okay to talk about sex and sexuality in Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's just that historically people haven't really approached it with the kind of maturity you might hope, right? There's a lot of, like, roll for dick size. And it's like I remember there was that scene where Van made a solipsism of another cleric of Cheese and had a wonderful night. And part of that is like Van was lonely and hard up and just kind of wanted to get some. He really
was, or Sean was?
Van.
Sean was in between Guardian forces at the time.
I was not, actually. I've been with one Guardian force through all of our videos,
right.
actually.
I was just kidding. Apologies to the Guardian force. That was a yoke.
Let's not get anyone into trouble here.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where, like, you can explore sex and sexuality, just like I think it's gonna be awkward at first, especially when it's like you have the flirting with the DM, and I think it's just you kind of get used to it, right? Like, if it's something that really bothers you, then yeah, you could veil it. But I also just think it's one of those things where it's like, just grow up.
I think some of that is kind of specific to your table, and in I guess what Ryan brought up to the stream, right? Like, how much does your group want that in the game versus how much they don't? But I still think that the things that romance brings to the game are still valuable, right? So in the case that you're bringing up with Lysandra, even if we don't bring sexuality into it at all, the fact that there's like a romantic interest there can bring tensions to the forefront that we might not have otherwise had the opportunity to explore as characters, right? And I think that's very valuable. So the ability to kind of even just, if we veiled every scene behind them, but we've hidden every scene behind a veil with you two, but we've established that there's like a romantic connection there, then things like how would Malachi, should he still be alive, respond to Van's new romantic interest? Does this bring a like jealousy to the forefront, maybe, or is this like a parting of ways there? How does that interaction work? It's another asset for a player character, right? In a very like gamey sense, right? You have this connection with a high-ranking noble, and there's conflicts that come with that, right? Obviously, nobles have enemies. Nobles have requirements of them from their social standing and from their political standing that may get kind of shifted onto you, but you also have access to their wealth and their own kind of subtle power. Being able to access those is kind of difficult, right? Those are tensions and storytelling dramas that like you are hard pressed to kind of work with in D&D if you're not including romance into your games.
Neal, I do a little. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go for it.
I was gonna joke that I a little bit resent you saying the only romance you can think of is in Misclicks, because I feel like in Dicing with Death we've done our fair share of romantic whatever relationships. We've done it all.
I'm just meant in Misclicks, I think that was
Varying
the best
degrees of
example
success.
of successful romantic relationship, when it wasn't even like on the nose. It was the like unspoken relationship that to me was the most interesting one that showed up, rather than the overt one. We have definitely done overt relationships in a lot of campaigns all over the place, but it always had a little bit of an awkward feeling. It didn't feel like it felt like there was a character, I want to romance that character, I'm going to now participate in romance, rather than this thing that showed up between Guy and somebody. Was this like, here are two characters who are both griping about their romantic situations together. And then like over time there became a romantic thing between them. And that
it feels much more organic in how it develops.
It felt it didn't feel like it was an objective. It felt like something that just happened, which I really like. But that's also really hard to do. You can't set out
takes time.
Right, you can't set out to like have an unintentional romance, because then it's intentional again.
I feel like you have successly like used romance as a plot mechanism in a couple of your campaigns, right? Obviously, we've talked about devotion. We also have like I think a Cuban Knights had kind of like a prince and romance kind of option going on.
Cuban Knights had a threesome between a prince, a princess, and the person they were both mutually wooing. That was a weird moment in time.
Yeah, but you... Okay, maybe that was not the best specific example to bring up. Right?
The barbarian queen takes the prince and princess of Drekis of Cuba and is like, both of you mate with me, come on.
Okay, so that might not have been the most specifically good example, but I feel like you've kind of worked with this before, right? So
I don't know if y'all know this about Neal, but he's a huge fan of romantic comedies.
Oh
and
my
has
god,
been
I
for
love
like
rom-coms.
decades. He used to be ashamed of it when he was a teenager. He would watch them in secret, and we would tease him about it, and
my
he would
friends
deny
would make
it.
fun of me so much.
I've watched my fair share of Matthew
now
McConaughey
embracing
movies. I get it.
Oh my god, I love the rom-coms.
You ever watch Failure to Launch? Because I like that one a lot.
Is that the one where the guy who never really grows up?
Yeah, it's about a kind of like a playboy who's still living with his parents, and his parents are trying to get him to fucking move out. One of them's played by Terry Bradshaw, and it's fantastic.
I believe I may have drifted into that at some point.
Anyway, I guess my question was like, How would you guys, let's say we were going to create a campaign, right? And we wanted to bring about some tensions based on romance and desire and sexuality as part of the core of the campaign. How would you go about setting that up? I feel like you've had a lot of success in the past using that as a device. So I went to you first, Neal, but either one of you can talk about, like, you know, what kind of things would you bring to your game?
I think he just said how it's weird. It feels weird when it's forced. And the best example he had thought of was when it came about naturally and unexpectedly.
Well, it's not even that necessarily, because you can like pursue a romance and have it be an interesting development over time, right? You have the characters like, I am interested in this person and I want to make them like consider me seriously, right? Like that's also an interesting angle to take. But I've been thinking about this. Have any of you played video games where romance is well done?
No.
I've played one.
I would argue that Final Fantasy X does a decent job.
What?
Yeah.
I haven't played Final Fantasy.
What romantic storyline in FF10?
Yuna and I'm sorry, the Final Fantasy X is one big romance.
Wait, okay, well, is Final Fantasy X the one with the weird sports ball stadium?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's got Titus with his weird laugh.
Yuna and Titus is a very well done romance, I think, especially for video games. Like, is it perfect? No, but I feel like it is a very good romance.
Well, I haven't played it since 2004, so I don't remember anything other than the Magic
Divinity
grid
Original
system.
Sin. That's
The only romance I
call us
remember
off,
from
man.
Divinity Original Sin is
Isn't the whole thing a romance? That's
Sort of.
I mean, that's the impression that, like, I'm playing through that. I'm like, is this my spouse? Is this
Yeah, there
what is
is.
going on here? Right? It feels like it's meant to be co-op with
between your
with
two characters. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, that I can see that
in like a super subtle, interesting way. And it's,
Yeah, that was probably one of the highlights of it, very much. I thought you were talking about like you go to the second town and there's the lady there who's like, I can give you a ride you'll never forget, and then she takes you upstairs.
No,
and
that's the
reads
problem with
bedtime
most
stories.
romance.
No, she reads you bedtime stories. Like,
Oh
Yeah.
the only game I can think of where romance was like explicitly and reasonably tastefully done was Dragon Age Inquisition. Because I remember Origins.
Did you
was
submit
like,
yourself
I think
to the
I
taint,
romanced
Sean?
the wrong person because that's not what I got.
Inquisition. Hold on. Okay, so Origins is like you throw gifts at Morrigan until she's like, "'Tis cold in my tent all alone," and it's bad. But Inquisition.
Come
was-
put a dragon in my belly. That's what she really says.
Yeah, that's basically it. That's yeah. But in Inquisition, there's a lot more like. First off, it takes like probably 2/3 of the game to reach any romance plot, assuming you've been following it throughout the game. And there's just a lot more like part of romancing Cassandra is you have to help her like you find out she's a big fan of smutty romance novels, and you convince Varric, who's an author of the romance novel she likes, to write more romance novels so that she can read the next installment, even though he's planning to cancel the series. It's a lot of just like kind of slice of life stuff, like, hey, let's just like live two ordinary lives. Like this is a facet of an everyday life, and let's live that out here. It feels more like you're courting a person, and less I'm throwing gifts at you for +10 affection. And eventually you're going to be like, hey, let's retreat.
Well, that's
to my
not
tent
very
here.
realistic, because if you want to get with someone, you throw gifts at them until they, you know.
Video
just
games
give
have taught me
someone-
this.
If you just give them enough gold, then they'll sleep with you.
Right.
That's how it works.
And in the modern world, it has to be in the form of a big ring.
Lots of coffee, and then some pastries, and then some cakes, and then a ring, right? It's an order of operations. If you do the ring first, then the other things don't work. It's more of like its own mini game, figuring out the order
You and your
and
wife
the
not
type
eat
of
dinner?
gift.
Just pastries and cake.
And coffee.
I'm telling you how to seduce me, not how to seduce my wife.
Twitch chat, pay attention. You're getting Neal's seduction techniques
Oh my
right
God.
here.
Quick story about pastries. There is an all-night cookie delivery service in Boulder. I kid you not. They do gourmet
special
cookies. No, regular, normal cookies, but like really nice cookies, and they deliver all night long. And I'm very proud of myself for only using them once in the last 2.5 years, because that shit is so good.
How many cookies do you have to order to make it worth the delivery fee? Or are they
It's
like
expensive. It's pricey.
Are these like $10 cookies?
They're kind of expensive cookies. I gotta look it up. Sorry, I derailed our conversation about love when I got to cookies. I apologize.
Well, you love cookies.
Hey, man, yeah, you love what you love, Neal. Don't hide it. Like,
It's called
the one-
Insomnia Cookies. Oh, it's so good.
do you think they'll deliver to Tualatin?
No.
I'm sure there's cookie delivery in the Portland area.
The problem I have with delivery is it's just so expensive. And then
Yeah, right. Just go to the store
Yeah.
or to your pantry. Like what sort of
Yeah, go to the store and buy
have
in
food
bulk.
in their kitchen?
Just go to the store and buy in bulk. There you go.
So I would like to proffer some examples, I think, of good areas to add tension romantically in campaigns. That since it seems like you guys aren't really on board with it, I'd like to hear your thoughts, right? So something that I think we find in the real world quite a bit is the idea of arranged marriages. And the idea of potentially putting your PCs or important NPCs inside of an arranged marriage that they either don't like or now develop romantic feelings for someone else, and the complications and tensions that can arise from this. I think that could be a great kind of tension adder to any of the kind of allies or companions or anyone really that the PCs run into, or even for a PC themselves throughout the game. And I don't mean it to be, this has to be the focal point of the campaign. Obviously, you can run romantic intrigue campaigns, but adding something like this to a campaign, I think, could add a lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, is that something you're resistant to? Because it kind of seems to me that Ryan and Neal, you were saying, no, I wouldn't really try to add something like that to my campaign unless it happened kind of naturally.
No, I would tell you. I've had an idea for a while of a love triangle, which I might be able to upgrade to a love quadrilateral if I think hard enough about it. Based on the concept of like an arranged marriage, like somebody has to marry somebody else, but they're interested in this other person, but they can't act on those feelings because they know they have this responsibility. And then like you've got like the person who knows their feelings, but they're keeping them down because they want to do their duty. Like I actually like that. I like arranged marriages are fertile ground for exploring the. Like it's a shitty system that causes people pain, and I think that is fertile ground for exploring in a role-playing game. I probably wouldn't do it among peasantry because I don't want to like fuck with the players on that front too much, but it's something that I would absolutely do in the case of royalty.
And this is something you would get permission from the player before doing it to their character.
I think you can totally do it. You just have to make sure that it's a continual theme. I think the danger is you do a romance thing and you only address it one day, and then you only address it, like 5 sessions later you address it again. I think you need...
You're like, oh crap, you've got a wife, don't you?
Right. I think you need the continual addressing of like, you're with this person doing this thing. Like maybe the woman that you've arranged to be married to is like on this adventure with you, and like she's your fiance, and you're going on these trips, but like you have your secret love back home, and so you have this... You need to like sort of keep bringing it up in a soft way, so it's not dominating every scene, but that it is constantly in the background, so the players have a little bit of time to chew on it and think on it, instead of just being like, no love, here's romance again, and then take it away. It needs to seep into the woodwork. And quick side note, for a 6-pack of cookies after tax and delivery, it's $14.
Outrageous.
That's a lot.
It's a couple dollars a cookie.
Yeah, it's like $2 a cookie, but still.
I mean,
are they like...
How like big are these cookies are we talking about?
They're
Are
like
they
regular.
Oreo sized, or are they
No,
like...
they're like cookies that you might get a bake from a
size.
bakery.
So, how much do they stand out as cookies, though? That's the big thing. Like,
Oh, they're
if I was
really
buying-
good.
Okay,
They're
if I was
some
buying,
of the better
like,
cookies I've had in my life.
If I was splurging on like really good cookies, that seems reasonable. $14.
Yeah. But if you want to get a 100-pack of cookies, it's $137. Oof.
Just
This
bake some
price
cookies.
scaling doesn't go well.
How
This
hard
is
are
what-
cookies to bake?
It's Colorado, it's Boulder, it's CU, the big university out here. So it's all of the stoned college students being like, whoa, man, it's 3 a.m.
order cookies on my phone, man.
Oh, yeah, the cookies are going to show up. My mom and dad will pay for it. Yeah. And it's also the 30-year-old
As a
D&D
recent
player.
college student, I can guarantee you this is exactly how all college students operate.
Thank you.
This is what it's like on college campus. So
Yeah.
you're not missing out.
Back to the more important romance. But now I'm looking at these insomnia cookies. Oh, my God.
Oh god.
I really want cookies now. Like really badly. Okay, so ranged marriage is interesting. I think if we follow that path a little bit, Does anyone remember Dune?
Of course.
Book, the movie, the game.
What movie?
The books.
None of them.
So do you remember the premise behind the Bene Gesserit? All these names are hard to pronounce.
Bene Gesserit.
Bene Gesserit, when they are specifically breeding the like perfect being, right? They're specifically monitoring bloodlines and breeding people together so that the like very specific, the Quizeract, Cataract, Babadook, whatever, comes into being, right?
Quisach Haderach.
That's the one. Look at you. You've got the pronunciations down too. Like, I think that this is something that is related, I think, to the ideas that we're bringing up here of like, we have magic in the blood of D&D. Like, what about creating a society that is mismatching partners to, fuel sorcerous bloodlines, right? Like, how related to romance and tension can that become? I think that it would be very easy, I think, to find these kind of like sorceress bloodlines, and the like impact of what that means to the characters can change, right? It doesn't even have to be like, oh, well, I'm not allowed to be with you, even though I'm romantically interested because I'm breeding the Quiznatch, Quiznosub, Saberhact, and
Quiznos.
It could be like, this is my duty and responsibility, right, as a noble member of this line, right? This is an axe hanging over my head that eventually I have to do this. Or like,
sounds like an interesting premise for a campaign.
Well, so
and then there's like you fall in love with the commoner who's not of sorceress bloodline, and
I will say it's very eugenics tangential, and if I were to run that kind of game, I would probably make sure I get the okay for my players, because if I were to run something that involves eugenics, it would be any person with a shred of morals would want to burn that entire society to the ground by the third session when I ran it. It would be a horrible place. And I'd probably just want to make sure that I have a group of people who are like, yeah, I can deal with some eugenics in this game.
Like, I feel like this is a topic, though, that it rings very true to our real world. Like, we don't have magic bloodlines in the real world, but you know how many like royal families bend over backwards to make sure that they have the right blood, right? Like, this is a thing that I think is very easily addable to the world without going down the like really hardcore road of like bad eugenics. Like, this is just,
I think in the case of the like wizard society where everybody's a pure blood magic, that got me going down like this is very eugenics oriented. But yeah, in the idea of royalty, that is kind of what it is. It's this idea of, we got to keep the bloodline noble and pure. And I think it's kind of part of what made eugenics was this idea of like the inferior people, which is probably less terrifying sounding when the idea is like they're in full good, will just crossbreed with each other and there's a lot of incest going on. I think people tend to see that less eugenics wise than when you look at it in the concept of like, we have these inferior blooded people and we need to get rid of these people or contain them so that we can keep our whole society of pure blooded origin. And that's what makes eugenics. It's on a grand social level and not the idea of we have this separate royal family. So it would be a sense of scale, right? Like if the idea is like, I want the perfect sorceress bloodline for me to body snatch it later, so there's like one bloodline, that's not too eugenics. But if you're like, we want to build a society where everybody's a pure blooded sorcerer and all the muggles can go away or die, we don't really care. That's getting much more.
I mean, someone needs to drive the carriages and bake the cookies.
Work in the fields, right?
Yeah. I guess what I'm talking about is more like eugenics is a rough topic, and if I'm going to include it in a game, it's going to be
player dependent, right? Because like you said, some players will see that and they will the entire campaign will be them suddenly chasing down all these sorcerers and trying to restructure society in their own image.
Fair enough.
Or it could be just a subtle thing that's like background, like setting.
Yeah, I would like. I see that society. It's like, yeah, we got to kill all the mages. Like this is the worst place ever. This society sucks. Mages are evil. Let's get rid of them.
Maybe an interesting premise.
Okay.
Eugenics is a word. Let's move on from the eugenics discussion.
How did we get on to
Moving on from
eugenics again?
Okay.
We
So
keep wandering
I'll-
into Nazis and eugenics and war crimes during these conversations.
All right, so I'll switch it up. Okay, another thing that I think might be interesting to add to a campaign that might be romantic tensions, or that plays similar to it, is the consequences of said romantic tensions. Would you potentially have a pregnant character or a character that has to deal with pregnancy? And is this something that you would put on screen, or is pregnancy a downtime activity?
This is one of those awkward areas, man, because there's so many real world things that are just inconvenient to deal with and roleplay, so we don't like.
Yep.
We never roleplay feminine hygiene issues. We're never like, sorry, you're out there and you've used all of your clothes and now you're on your period, and what are you gonna do while you're adventuring? Like, we don't do this sort of shit, right? We don't be like, well, you can't hike all day because you have to you gotta poop somewhere. You can't be in this meeting all day. You gotta go use the bathroom. Like, there's so many issues that are just inconvenient to deal with, and so we ignore them. And pregnancy sort of falls in that situation. I feel like it would be very awkward, especially as people who have never been pregnant.
You don't
and
want
have never
to like
been
crit
around.
the pregnant character and murder an unborn baby.
I would personally, I'd be totally down for that, but it'd be like the thing that you do, like Greg was saying, as a downtime activity. Like, there'd be a point where it's like, all right, let's get everybody has like a big thing that they got to do. It's gonna take like a year plus to get it done. And then, like, in that time, if somebody's like, "Yeah, I want to have a kid," it's like, "All right, yeah, we'll have that happen."
Are you going to go back adventuring when you've got an infant?
Yeah, sure. Get a nanny. Lots of.
So,
do you think a D&D adventure is going to be a model parent?
I mean, one aspect of romance in D&D that I find interesting to explore is how it's somewhat incompatible with a adventuring lifestyle. So a lot of the romances that I see are like the unrequited love kind of thing, where there's this tension built up, but it's like you're an adventurer, you don't really have time to invest in this romance, or I don't know, or you're splitting town the next day.
You could do some.
Sorry, babe, the road's calling.
You could do some Donald Draper stuff where you've got like your queen wife that you're married to in town, but when you go adventure, you like swing by Shirebrook because of that girl you met that one time, and you like hook up in Shirebrook for a while, and then you gotta go back to your queen, who you live with, and you do your proper things. You've got the kids, but like really, when something happens, when your wizard friend dies, you don't go back to your wife. You go back to that tavern wench in Shirebrook that you spent that time with.
And similarly, adventures make awful parents.
Good.
Could it be as simple as like having a parent who's a long distance truck driver, right? Like, they go off on an adventure for however long and come back and have a family life, and then work calls and they go out and adventure again?
Yeah.
It could work. I guess it's just like, the pregnancy is not something that I would role play like in the moment itself. But yeah, no, I'm totally down with the idea of adventures.
It does kind of feel like a downtime activity to me.
Yeah, I don't want to kill pregnant women in my games. That's the real problem, is that if there's an adventurer who's pregnant and cruising around and they die, then I'm murdering pregnant women.
Right, you've got to be ready for that heart-wrenching moment.
And as cynical as I am, there is still some sort of magic that is inherent to the life cycle and reproduction, and I don't want to. It's like why we don't deal with child slavery in game. Like, sure, it exists and you could do it and it's dark, but like that's not fun to talk about.
Or if it is, it's got to be a major theme of the campaign. Everyone buys in.
The other. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So, one thing I hate is when these things get like backburnered, where it's like, oh, so and so's pregnant and we just forget about it, or so and so's got a kid back home and it just never comes up. It's like, how do you have? I mean, I don't know. You've got to at least bring it up to the point and be like, wow, you're a terrible parent leaving your infant back home with a nanny while you're off here fighting dragons. What are you?
I love the scene.
Monster, are you?
The scene where Van gets chewed out by the cleric in Wicktron Renta, the high cleric, because it's like
missing the birth of
we need to talk about the young one, and it's like, I do like how Neal will bring those things back. It doesn't feel like it gets backburnered. I guess it did a little bit, but like we were saving the world, right? You kind of not a whole lot of time to settle down and become a family man.
Mm-hmm. I think I agree with everything you're saying about the adventuring with it. I think that would be a problem. I do think if it was a downtime activity, it would be reasonable, right? Because I think what it would do is give you a fertile ground, pun not intended, for like more connections, and the web of connections that I can create from a player character to other player characters and NPCs and locations in the world is something that I value quite a bit, because it represents a lot of in-game fun, right? A lot of people I see on like forums and where people talk about Dungeons and Dragons, when they bring up like, oh, my players have like family, or they have this, you know, connection over here, and people's advice would be kill them, get them, go after them. And like, I think that is very adversarial. Like, if you're constantly threatening every connection that people have, then people are less willing to have them. That's when you get to the murder hobo with no family and no connections to the world whatsoever, because they are tired of you, the DM, or the DMs that they've had, constantly threatening every connection they have. And I think that if I can expand that web, then I am allowed to go after some of them, right? I can put those in danger, and then have others that like are assets to the adventurer. And I think the idea of a romantic tryst that involves becoming, you know, with child, gives you, you know, a child and potentially a home base that now you care about and is important to you, and it adds like people taking care of them, perhaps the other parent of the child. Like, it adds to that web a great deal, which I think is something that I value a lot, and something that I wouldn't just offhandedly dismiss. Though I do think, upon hearing your arguments, that I would agree. Pregnancy, I think, definitely a downtime activity.
D&D characters.
That's a good point as well.
I think maybe if it was a paired couple, where it wasn't just like I'm a pregnant character. If it's like me and this other character are dating, and now I'm pregnant while we're adventuring, I think that might work.
Yeah,
you know, it would. But you would need the other player character to be there. You would need the potential father of the child to be another player character off with you, and then you could get like a Zoe Wash thing from the end of Firefly, where they're like, we want to have a kid, and Wash is like, it's dangerous, and Zoe is like, fuck danger, I'm not too afraid of losing something, so I'm not gonna. So she made some interesting quote about it, and so then they decide at some point that that's what they want to do, and I could see that going around, but you'd need a couple who is a couple in game.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
That might work.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So I think that there are a couple slightly less serious topics that we could touch on. So if we are involving romance, desire, sexuality into our games, then we are also probably stepping into the possibility of courtesans and the sex workers of your campaign world. I would just like to ask, you know, is this an area that you feel comfortable adding to your campaigns? And like,
bring on the hoes and gigolos. I'm all for it.
Yeah. If so, how do you find them to be most? How do you find them to be most accessible? Right? How do you use them in your campaigns for effect rather than as?
This is one area where I like to draw curtains for the most part. I mean, Neal and I have probably done our fair share of
ERP.
Of whoring, but RPing that. But for the most case, I don't think D&D players are mature enough to handle this in a realistic way. Like, it's fine to have brothels, but I don't want my players abusing hookers and whatever. It seems to be like, okay, fine.
I think
there's a brothel, shell out 10 gold, and we're gonna draw a curtain on this.
I think a very big thing about that, like, if you want to include that in your game in a tasteful way, like, these are people, right? Like, don't run all of your whores and courtesans like they are just whores and courtesans. Like, they are NPCs with their own desires, their own opinions. Run them that way. Like, accentuate the humanity of these characters, because that's how you portray them in a way that feels like not just a tacked on
Yeah. On the flip side, I don't know if it's the flip side. I feel like it's a bit of a cliche to have the villainous brothel owner, the pimper Neal, who gets who the party teams up against and murders at the end of an episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine, but it's a little
Yeah, I like the way that you did Michelle in Qualnir's storyline, where she was a courtesan, but she was very, I don't want to say like removed about it. It was one of those things where she was like cool enough that she didn't talk about it, and it was just something that happened, but it was never really like, it wasn't her shit.
She was working Qualnir. She's not going to talk about her other clients.
Right, right. And I felt like Michelle's application was very useful and very well done. I think that's one of the best examples of a courtesan or a prostitute or whatever you want to label it as in game.
I don't know. I think this is always like looking back, you feel like you could have done a better job.
Well, that's just because you're a good DM and you always want to do better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there room for your player characters to work as a courtesan?
To hoard themselves out?
Actually, I tried to invite Neal to do this just the other day, and he turned me down.
One of my favorite things, in fact, about
Selkie last week went to several brothals.
Right.
Looking for work, and
I did not want to play her as a prostitute. Yeah.
To be fair, I didn't want to play that either. But.
Right.
No, I was gonna say Zweihander RPG actually is a game with like 80 classes or something. Like there's I think over 100 pages of classes, but classes in Zweihander are just like it's a package of your starting skills, and then you have like one special feature. But one of the classes in there is prostitute. So I have seen RPGs where that is factored into the game as a potential for your player character.
But it's in Zweihander, it's like a background, isn't it? It's like this is what your character was before they were an adventurer. And now you're an adventurer with this weird skill set.
Except in the case of, I think, prostitutes, you do keep your connections from that background, which means that might be like the thing you do when adventuring. Like you might still be doing your job. That might be your day job in adventuring. It's your side hustle. It kind of depends on how your game is set up for Zweihander specifically, but yeah, there's plenty of room for doing that. I think it's fine. In fact, I'd say that's a good idea if you think you have a table that can handle it in a
that's a big fashion. Right? I feel like this is another. Yeah. It's fine in theory, but it's something that's full of pitfalls. Like you don't want to.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't want you got to be mature about it.
Yeah.
And in the same way, you want to make sex workers human or I don't know, proper NPCs. You want your PCs to stay real character, like realistic characters through all this. You don't want them to dehumanize themselves or, I don't know, objectify sex. I don't know.
I think it's everyone needs to do it once. Everyone needs to roll for dick size once and to go around banging big titty elf girls once. Just to get it out of their systems, and then from then on, you can approach it more reasonably.
I've been at this for more than a decade, almost 2, and I have not gotten it out of my system. There's still a soft spot in my heart for big titty elf girls.
Yeah, but we've moved on from rolling for dick size, right? That's no longer a thing we need to do.
Well, yeah, we decided you can choose your hotness, you can choose your dick size.
Right.
You don't 18 need hotness, big dick, big titty elf girls.
So hotness is something that I think is very interesting, actually. Not to cut off the dick size and big titty talk.
No, please move on.
I think that it could be. So we've talked about including romance, sexuality, desire in our campaign a lot. Mechanically, I think it's interesting. Dungeons and Dragons runs on a lot.
Well, mechanically, it goes this way, and then it goes that way, and then it does that again.
And then it does that a lot, back and forth. No. The game is very mechanically driven, right? You have stats for things like your strength, your nimbleness, your quick wings. Is there a reasonable stat or mechanical device for your players' desirability? right? Is desirability something that you would consider mechanizing in the game? An example I'll bring up just so that you guys have a moment to think. Many bards, right, play their characters as loud, ostentatious, perhaps womanizing, perhaps not, but like rock stars, famous. Yeah. They want to be treated as they're like kind of flocked to, right? Is maybe desirability something you put on your bard? And can your bard go out into the street without being flocked by tons of like boy band fans?
In my mind,
screaming girls.
In my mind, D&D has very bright lines with these things. So like, there's a bright line between a charm person spell and role playing being charming, and there's a bright line between a bard's inspiration ability, which is mechanized, just like charm person is mechanized or suggestion is mechanized. And then the other side of that is the role-playing aspect, which I'm disinclined to mechanize, which is why I think the same vein as Neal saying, okay, you can choose your hotness. It's not actually a mechanical aspect of the game. It's all role-play. It's all fluff, which is not to say that it's not part of the game, but it's not a mechanical part.
Yeah, I don't think Van ever rolled for it. I think we just had like no, Van is super hot. This character is basically the golden child.
But that said, I'll often ask for charisma rolls for these sorts of interactions. Not that it's required, but it sometimes streamlines things to be like, okay, let's roll a charisma check to see how charming you are.
Maybe it's not a stat that you roll, but it's something that you agree upon, right, with your DM. But like you say, you say that there are times that you ask for charisma rolls. Is sometimes charisma you find not the stat that you're looking for? Right, like, because I think there can be a difference between charisma being like how you present yourself, and like maybe like you want to present yourself as a hot stud muffin, but then like really maybe it's not true, or it's there's some mechanical other side to that. Would a desirability mechanic kind of smooth that gap over?
I think
not
so.
in Dungeons and Dragons, at least not for me. Sorry, I completely steamrolled Neal there, but
go for it.
I would do it in other games. I could imagine that being workable in like a Powered by the Apocalypse. Really? Dungeons, Dragons, so mostly I have a hard time fitting that into the framework of D&D than I do certain other game systems.
I think that a desirability stat would have to be a soft stat, or like a weird side stat that you don't really use, like grub skill or whatever. And I think it actually needs to be maybe an opposed set of roles, because I think you can have someone who is desirable to a broad group of people, but is still not desirable to plenty of other people. So I think it wouldn't be like you have 17 desirability, everybody likes you. It'll be like you have 17 desirability. It'll be easy for people to like you, but you're not going to be liked by everyone. I think you need to take a little bit more nuance with it. Whereas like these other stats are a lot more absolute. Desirability is a lot more relative.
And I think sorry, go ahead.
I think you would both roll desirability checks, and if you both win, then you're into each other, and if you both fail, then you're not into each other. And if someone if the other person fails and you win, if the other person wins and you fail, then you're into them, but they're not into you. So you would need to do like a weird sort of dice rolly thingamajobber.
Oh, I have an interesting idea for this. What if you rolled plus the opposed person's desirability? So you roll D20 plus
their
my desirability
right,
when you're trying to get into me. And my desirability is only an 11, so you're not that into me. But I roll D20 plus your desirability, and your desirability is like 18, because, Neal, I can't get enough of that guy.
I actually like this mechanic.
And then, so it could result in, like, I'm really into Neal, but Neal's like, oh, that Greg, nah, he's not cute enough.
The inverting of the stats is an interesting way to do it. I was just about to say, I don't think any of this is interesting enough to actually mechanize in Dungeons and Dragons.
And I would still say I like that mechanic. I'd love to put in a Powered by the Apocalypse game.
What is it? Okay, so I really like Powered by the Apocalypse, specifically Dungeon World. I run it a lot. I run it less now. I used to run it a lot back in Ancient Wonders days, and then it moved and died. what is it about the Apocalypse engine that makes you think this is where the desirability mechanic shines? Like, why does it shine here and not somewhere else?
The way that Powered by the Apocalypse is designed is about creating new obstacles, new narrative obstacles, and then the players trying to resolve them, right? And like you getting strong hits is the cue that you're resolving obstacles, and you getting misses is the cue that I'm creating new obstacles. And it gives you a very, like, I think the reason we see so many Powered by the Apocalypse games is that it's a very open framework that you can do a lot with its basic rule set, whereas Dungeons and Dragons is ultimately heroic action fantasy adventure, and pretty much everything that is not a combat system in D&D is a tacked on element to it, whereas in the Powered by the Apocalypse game, the system is generic and transferable to any situation. You don't have to have a combat system in a Powered by the Apocalypse game, and it would work without it just fine. If you took combat out of D&D, it's not D&D anymore. And that's my big issue, is that by the design of D&D, if it's not combat, it's basic. It's as basic as it gets. And that's why I'm less interested in seeing something like that in D&D. I like it. I do like the soft stat idea that Neal mentioned. Like the idea of, especially because that gives you more nuance than just a straight numerical stat. Like the bard could be super desirable like a rock star, but because they get so much attention, they have a hard time forming lasting attachments. So they get lots of like casual friends and acquaintances, but they don't get like the good friends who stick, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a little bit more what I would think about it more just archetypally and establish this with the person making the character. I wouldn't necessarily mechanize it into a number.
Because making that mechanized system is going to be such a complicated system for it to be interesting that it's basically you're making a whole new game. Which
that is something that I've struggled with in Dungeons and Dragons. When you start changing things, suddenly you start making more and more and more subsystems. Just to flesh them out.
And if you do it, I mean, you know, that's what AD&D second edition is. So like you're not breaking the game by doing so. You're just doing more AD&D second edition.
Right.
But
so I guess I would pose a question to you then. So we don't, it seems kind of resoundingly like we're not very interested in mechanizing desirability. But I think that is something that is, you know, a prominent part of role playing if we are including romance, romantic tension, you know, sexuality into the game. So if we're not hard mechanizing it, how would you treat it in your game, right? How this bard situation happens, right? He's a rock star, rolls into town. How do you treat this in your sessions?
I like the idea of attributes to a character that are both positive and negative, right? This is one of my complaints with how 5e does like, well, you had like a flaw in D&D, but then you also had like a personality trait. What was that called again?
Bonds, and ideals.
Yeah, and like your ideals and your flaws, because you rolled them on separate tables, did not line up with each other, right? Like they didn't make sense in that context. I like the idea, like the reason I brought up that bard thing was like, yeah, the bard is a rock star. They get lots of attention, but then the negative side of that is they get so much attention that like their good friends become jealous of the fact that they always have so much attention and they can't form lasting connections with people. Like I like the idea of the multifaceted attribute. And that's why I like the soft stat approach of like, I would like to make a keyword for your character that describes how they are on a social level. One that is like interesting enough to have both the positive and the negative associations with it. And that's kind of how I would approach that, I guess. If that makes sense.
And I think a risk in totally turning this over to the choice of the players is it can ruin with the realism or the verisimilitude of the game setting. Like if you can choose your hotness and choose your desirability, suddenly everyone's going to be just like everyone's going to be a rock star. And I guess if that's what you want, if you want to be a bunch of adventurers who are gorgeous and beautiful with long flowing locks and 12-inch dicks, and you just swing into town and everyone wants to be with you, I guess that's the game you're playing. But in my experience, you know, no one wants to play an average character. Or
I don't know. I have played with a lot of people, you guys included, who design characters who are not overly attractive and who design characters who are edgy and weird. You know,
I think that's a
phase. We may not be the norm.
I don't think we're the norm.
Everyone, go ahead.
Yeah. I think when you get to the people who play a lot of tabletop games, you get two people. It's like the person who plays the same thing every time, which I am sometimes. And then my go-to is the cleric.
Neal's pointing to himself, by the way.
Yeah, the pride on Neal's face when he pointed to himself there, that was pretty priceless.
Yeah, and then you get the people who play literally everything, right? And I think that a lot of people who tend to play D&D as people like us tend to go toward the separate end, right? Like, let's go, I'll play an ugly character. I haven't done that before.
And I think once you've had enough games under your belt, once you've done the I'm a hot bard who just everyone wants to bang all the time, and once you've played that a couple times, all right, well, I want to be the really edgy rogue who's dark and mysterious, and you start not paying attention to your attractiveness when that's not a core of your character, and then you're more willing to embrace being less attractive. But that's where the DM comes in, because then the DM gets to pressure you into rolling for your hotness or playing something, and the DM helps to get the players to break out of ideals and into flawed, interesting characters. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's mostly just an exploration thing, right? You go, all right, I've played. I don't think there's anything wrong with a guy who really likes playing hot. I don't make people roll for hotness. If you want to play, go ahead. I don't care. It's fine.
I feel the hotness is
maybe adventure is just
anyone can
fine.
say that they're an 18 hotness character. They're the hottest character in the bar, right? Until you've rolled 3d6.
Yeah,
you just got an average dick.
It always comes back to the D. I think I kind of straddled both lines, which is weird, because if you make a character whose identity is tied into their kind of desirability, both charismatically and physically, then I don't want you to roll the dice, because the dice might tell you that that's not a part of your identity anymore. And so I specifically don't ever make those characters
what is? Oh my God, chat! They're all.
It all goes back to the D. There's proof right there. Twitch chat.
Wait, if we're going for a dick size roll, it should be 2d4, right?
They're rolling for hotness.
Whoa, no! I don't want to get into this conversation, Sean. This is a bad route. Once you start discussing the different die rolls, then you got to start breaking it down into length and girth, and then what sort of racial bonuses do you get, and it gets wildly out of hand.
And then you wind up
ruin this for me.
I don't want to cult that's breeding sorceress bloodlines.
Hold on, I got you. I'm gonna give you the one system to rule them all. Before, roll a fudge die to maybe add 0.5. There you go. You're done.
Wait, what?
There you go. There's no better system. Fudge dice are dice that either come up plus or minus. So it could either be a positive or a negative addition. It's used in certain systems. It's not a very common thing.
I see.
But basically you would just roll 2d4. And then on a positive for the fudge die, you add 0.5 because you have the extra inches or half inch in there.
We're not having this conversation. What were we even talking about before this? This got derailed.
I don't make players
Greg
who
was saying,
tie their character identity to it, right? And I think that there's very rich character space for that, right? You can be a rock star, desirable bard, and I'm not gonna make you roll that. That is now just a part of your character. But if it's not a piece of your identity, it's just something that we want to find out, then I kind of do side with Ryan. I'm just it's not real until you roll the dice, right? You could be anything there. And I think it just matters how important it is to their identity as a character.
I think that's also a difference between certain games, where some games are very big about you roll a character and what you get was what you get, and some games are much bigger about you're gonna roll for some things. Maybe some games don't even have rolling and character creation, but you overwhelmingly get to choose who you want to be, right? And it's a difference in perspective between I'm gonna go in knowing what I want to play, and I'm gonna go in and the game's gonna give me something to play and I'm gonna play that.
I'm totally fine with what you're saying, Greg. I think the only pitfall there being it's got to feel like it's got to feel like that character's special. If someone has a character that's a seducer or whatever, that's a ladies' man, and he's the most attractive person there, and you let them choose their attractiveness, suddenly that opens it up for everyone to choose their attractiveness, and it cheapens the whole experience if suddenly the rest of the party is he gets to be the hottest character here. I want to be the hottest character here. And suddenly everyone in the party wants to be the hottest person in the party. And if you're not rolling for it,
Right.
So you need buy-in, I guess, from the whole party, from the universe, even, right? It's got to feel like they're.
Agreed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Context is king, and buy-in. Buy-in at the table, I think, is kind of just like the core of everything we've discussed. Is, you know, all of this is great and can add something to your campaign, but you need buy-in from the people that you're playing with to make it happen. Absolutely. All right, so the last bullet point, we kind of shaded over some of these, but the last one that I really think would be like potentially fun to bring up is if we're adding romance, desirability, sexuality to the campaign and to the player characters, we should probably add it to the world building at some point. We are in a society with like magic, right? What would you add? So some items that I thought about that I think you would potentially see in a world where we're explicitly building this into the campaign setting are like fertility tonics. Like I bet that magic potion is brewing like everywhere and is probably very popular.
And then Clerics of Martha should have fertility spells.
They do.
Fertility
they
spells.
Do.
Yes.
In my 2-point Neal clerics, there are fertility spells and fertility totems for Clerics of Martha. And in Hardcore Heroes, we had a potion of ugliness as a major plot point in early games.
Grimes has a ring of handsomeness on right now that I think has no mechanical benefit whatsoever.
No, you're just more handsome.
And then you consider like magical forms of contraception.
Magical forms of contraception. I was going to see what kind of interesting thoughts you might have about adding ideas like that into the world. And then I have a more controversial one that I think Sean might have already done. I wrote down, what about the spell Conjured Lover? And would this be a thing that every wizard took?
Well, is this like summon monster mixed with Van's version of solipsism?
That's not okay. Yeah, that's not okay.
Summon monster, charm person.
Oh god.
It sounds creepy and not interesting to explore.
The solipsism worked because it was an illusion. It wasn't real. I don't like the idea of summoning a real living creature for
and this is the purposes. Kind of thing where, I mean, you definitely pull the curtain on that. Right? It's not interesting to role play. Just be like, yeah, fine, you creepy old wizard. You can conjure yourself a goblin. Conjure yourself 1d8 goblins for all I care, but we're not putting that on screen.
The worst part about this is when you like conjure a creature, it's not evoking something. You're bringing a goblin from elsewhere, and if they don't die, then they go back. So a goblin has been summoned into your home. You use it for your dirty, creepy, pervy old man sex purposes. And then the 1d8 goblins go back to their village and like, oh my god, we just have this shared dream. It was terrible. And if it's the same goblins you keep conjuring over and over again, then they must like, there's got to be some sort of like cult that grows up. Maybe they think you're some like god that brings them out or some sort of dark demon. This could actually be kind of amusing. If you looked at it from the goblin perspective, what if we had a campaign where members of a village kept getting summoned away to be like, you know, charmed by this wizard and slept with and then returned, and the heroes have to find the wizard who is summoning the various villagers for prostitution purposes before their own wife gets summoned. Oh my god. New D&D campaign, guys.
This is a little
I think it's very interesting that spell was met with immediate outcry and then led to Neal's brain blast here. He went full Jimmy Neutron on us.
Sorry.
It's kind of great, but I would run that game at a private table with people who understand what they're getting into. I would never run that game publicly.
Right. Okay, so maybe this was I was just brainstorming random things and it came to mind, but I like beyond the implications of that spell, like what type of things would you add to your world to make it a living, breathing world that involved, you know, topics of romance and desirability? I think that those are some good examples.
Continual mood lighting spells.
Oh yeah. Well,
if Neal didn't kill off Zweihaard, I was gonna make him.
I've got magic lanterns that you can touch and it'll fade the amount of light that it sheds, and depending on the sand colors that you use to create the lanterns, it'll produce different lights. So we've got like magical mood lighting. What you need are snake oil salesmen who sell you fake totems of infertility So like as you're walking into town, some guy's like, here's a totem of infertility, you're gonna need it if you go in there, but it totally doesn't work. He's just lying to you, and then you get knocked up.
I like.
And then
the
you have a
idea-
downtime activity.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say like my interest is less in like the spells, because I tend to run lower magic games. I'd be interested more in like the potions and the other like apothecary elements, the things that are kind of like magically adjacent but are not necessarily magic in of themselves. And that's a little more where I'd be interested in seeing that develop. Is like what kind of potions could you make for that sort of setting? So we have the idea of like the potion of fertility and the potion of infertility, both of which you would consider important. What else is there though?
Maybe like magic makeup, concealers, and ointments of
yeah,
eyes.
You had that some item of attraction in that Dyson with Death character with Michelle. What's his name? Qualnir, right? Wasn't there some sort of like horn of attractiveness or a ring of lovemaking or something? What was it called?
It sounds familiar. I can't remember what it was.
There was an item, right? That
I like the idea of the horn
fan?
of attractiveness.
It was a mirror. It was a mirror.
Oh,
of
there we go.
attractiveness. And
Mirror.
the effect was if Michelle had, I don't know if Michelle stole it from the Duchess of Seagate.
right.
And I think if you viewed yourself in the mirror for some amount of time beforehand, it increased your attractiveness or your charisma by 1 or something for the next encounter. I think. Oh no! I had it a spell effect. It was like the equivalent of a friend spell or something like that. So if you viewed yourself in this mirror for 1 hour or for 10 minutes beforehand, you get a charge of a friend spell going into the next encounter.
yeah.
Yeah.
What items do
That
you
was
have
cool.
in mind?
I did like that magic item.
That was
Thank you
good.
for reminding
I
me.
mean, I kind of
forgot
gave you my quick brainstorm.
Right.
A little bit as just like to jostle your memory. When you talk about that mirror, that sounds very good. I think Sean was talking about potential potions. I think changing your appearance or desirability specifically would be something that they would be very interested in. I think that I would lean very heavily against charms if I was adding this into my system, into my world. I think that charms just wouldn't be available, right? It would have to be adjacent to kind of this because ultimately, like if we're adding romance into the game, like shortcuts, cheats, tricks don't mesh well with that, right? Like those are kind of butting heads as concepts. And so I would probably very specifically, I would take out a lot of like easy access to charm, or I would
just
think
nerf
about the way they
what
interact.
charm means.
Also, I think there'd also,
Change
I think there'd be
means.
an element of like love potions and charm spells are scorned upon by society because they're not okay. They're morally repugnant. That's not okay.
Well, and was always a thing in our games is once the charm is over, you realize that you were charmed, and you're usually pissed off, and you hunt down and murder the wizard that charmed you.
Yeah.
I feel like, again, this keeps coming back to buy-in from the table. I feel like the reason charm exists in D&D is because you can't trust most D&D players to role play. Like if you tell them that the spell, like if the spell just has soft effects, and it's like you now view the caster more favorably. That's not mechanical.
Yeah.
You need to say you are a charmed henchman of the
mechanize relationships is the problem. You know, they're too nuanced unless you want to have some really like lack of RP style
Honestly,
game.
the idea of just you are now friendly toward the person who charmed you, most players will run with that pretty well, right? Like, and in a way that you find pretty believable, where like they won't betray their party and start fighting against them, but they won't attack the wizard, and they might try to like negotiate a peaceful resolution. That's super common. Like,
I don't know what sort of players
run-
you play with, but my players are always like, oh, they're charmed. They have to do whatever I say now. They'll do anything for me.
And then when you charm them, they're like,
No, I mean players being charmed, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It will go, all right, I have to work within the boundaries of this charm. What can I do so that I don't fuck over the party, but also don't screw over my newfound friend? Like, it's
Right.
I see a lot of players in my experience tend to work very well with the idea of being charmed.
Is this a spoiler, Neal, or can you tell us how you and Nick worked out the Malachi charm?
We didn't. We never talked about it. There was that moment where he looked into Count Vicious's eyes, and
Is this like Georg with the cultists, where we were like, okay, the doors close, and then we like go to break or whatever. And we're like, well, let's give it 5 minutes to build up some tension, and I'll pop out in a few minutes with some glowy eyes, and they'll think that I made a deal with the devil. And ha ha ha, won't that be funny?
It was gonna be like I was just gonna wait for some moment where they needed to interact again to bring it up and just kind of figure out how it was gonna work. Then I had kind of like been like, oh, future Neal, figure out this problem. It'll be just a fun tension point until then. Unfortunately, we never really got to resolve that. Or did we? I have ideas. They're not all good ideas.
Malachi is a terrible vessel for an undead servant. I guess he could be a skeletal mage or something.
Yeah, skeleton is fine. I assume his bones are okay.
They got pretty low HP, low durability bones.
Yeah, I don't know. He had the ring of fire
is that
protection.
a tissue issue or is that a bone issue?
Oh shit! Did you guys see the artwork that Matt did for Malachi being burned?
Yeah.
Holy
God.
shit, that was brutal.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, let me go find it for us.
I think it's in Arts and Memes right now.
Oh, is it? Okay, so it wasn't.
Well,
put
you
on
got to
Reddit.
scroll really far to find it though, because you know there's so much.
There's
chat.
also this really nice one Cleggs did of Van praying over Malachi's body.
Here's the one of him burning. I'm gonna try and put on the overlay.
Actually, because Malachi died, doesn't the charm break? Like, even let's say he was charmed.
If he gets resurrected, the charm will be gone.
Right.
Yeah. If he was dead, then how could he possibly be charmed?
Oof, that's
'cause he's
brutal.
dead?
Yeah, it's true.
Although I still maintain Malachi did get burned to this degree because, like, between the Ring of Fire Protection, and the successful save, I don't think this is a person who got like straight up roasted and Anakin Skywalkered.
I
no,
think he should
did
come
get
back
Anakin
with a
Skywalker,
big
not-
black helmet and a respirator and some body armor. Maybe pick up a sword proficiency.
I also linked the prayer.
Oh shit!
It has nipples.
The prayer has nipples.
What?
It does. Malachi's clothes are burned off.
Oh, here it is. Oh, this is good too.
Yeah, this is really.
Oh yeah, I like this, and I like the swan star pattern in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's a swan on the shield too.
Yeah, but he just has too much flesh. Although he's kind of on fire.
I mean, he only got to like
Yeah,
negative
well,
12.
again, right, and again, Ring of Fire Protection, successful save. I feel like I gonna have some bad burns. I don't think he's fleshless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh god, you put it up as the chit chat.
Yeah,
That's a pretty brutal postcard for chit chat.
Hey Nick, why don't you join the stream? Postcard with that on it. Like, imagine if you actually sent that invitation to Nick. Like, hey, do you want to be on Chit Chat? You're invited. Here's your dead character burning alive.
They just keep coming. Here's a little comic book.
Although I will say, because people were asking about it, and I didn't really get into this because I was like, honestly, I don't care. Like, if Malachi comes back with bad burns, it's better than Malachi not coming back. But I'm pretty sure Repair Injury would restore his burnt flesh.
I think Raised Dead would restore it, wouldn't it? I mean, like,
Yeah, if Raised Dead, Raised Dead would bring back most of it. But if there were burns behind, I'm pretty sure most of the scarring would be repaired by Repair Injury, because that's the wording of Repair Injury. Because like Regenerate, people are like, oh, it might take Regenerate. It's like Regenerate is for like straight up lost limbs, like you regrow bones and hands entirely. Repair Injury is for like cut tendons and things that are like serious damage, but it's there, it's just broken, right?
Right, but if let's say you were badly scarred as a child, and then when you're 50 years old, someone casts Repair Injury on you, your scars wouldn't vanish, right? Those are part of who you are now. So I think Repair Injury will only work on like active injuries, not like scar tissue, which is no longer an injury.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Would it?
I think you need to invent a new
get rid of
spell
somebody's
that
scar?
heals the cosmetic injuries.
I think that would have to be I think that could be a fun moment to explore that in game.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you have a spell that can repair cosmetic injuries, it's got to be some sort of illusion spell, not like a permanent reparation of them.
I imagine if I can put tendons back together, I imagine I can get some permanent restoration in there.
Maybe. I just feel like that takes away so many interesting opportunities. You know, that's like such a permanent solution to a really interesting problem.
Yeah,
but that's
repair injury
kind of the whole point
is
of Magic,
explicitly
is to have simple
meant.
solutions to interesting problems.
Yeah, I don't know. I would rather have like the repair injury or repair like cosmetic defect spell be more of like an illusion spell. And maybe it's like a permanent illusion, but if you can somehow see through the magic with like a gem of true seeing or whatever, you would still see like mangled body. Or if they walk into
hear me my take on that, Neal.
Yeah.
I would make that the wizard spell, and I would make the cleric spell the actual healing spell.
Ooh,
So,
okay.
yeah, there you go.
Maybe I can get behind something like that. But you have to dole it out very carefully. It would have to be a protected asset, I feel. Oh, or maybe not. Maybe you've got the one cleric of cheese going around being like, all right, who needs to be pretty?
Yeah, that's the
Come
other
on,
thing.
boys,
Is
line
like
up.
you already have clerics so rare in the world. Like I could not go around
And
and repair
especially
all the
like who
cosmetic
makes a
defects
cleric
on
of
it
beauty?
if I tried.
That's like are there others? Like it's pretty much just Van, isn't it?
He's the only one of note. You know, like there are libertarians out there, but there's only one or two libertarian politicians that anyone will ever know about. You know, they exist, but come on.
Most of them talk themselves into obsolescence.
Actual cleerics are rare enough, and like,
yeah,
and like that's probably like a 3rd level spell, right?
It's gotta be.
You need to be a cleric with a sphere, and then also like 5th level clerics are not that. Even if you include all the domains, 5th level clerics are not that common.
They're not that common. You might have like one per town, and then like a handful in a city or something, and then they're not mostly going to be clerics of cheese.
Yeah,
Charos is suggesting
I can't go around and heal everybody's cosmetic injuries. Like I don't got that time, man.
Yeah.
Charos is suggesting that this be Cheese's channel divinity. Instead of turn undead, he can repair cosmetic injuries.
It would actually, having that as like a cleric spell would explain a lot of like why do D&D adventurers not look horribly mangled by the time they're like 25.
Yeah. See, if you get that ability though, then you're gonna get this like letters from all these acne-ridden princes and princesses from all over the world being like, Father Van, I'll give you 5,000 gold if you come to my city and get rid of my acne blemishes. And
you know what? If you're good at something, don't do it for free.
I mean,
to be fair,
like
I did
Neal's
literally turn down your 10,000 gold offer, Neal. So
you're better than the average player, Sean.
I do like Neal's perspective though, because I think that some amount of permanency is good in Dungeons and Dragons. And like this is a kind of unimportant topic, right? And so if a player felt very, very, very strongly about repairing scar tissue, I wouldn't fight them on it. But I think that oftentimes, especially in the more modern editions of Dungeons and Dragons, the consequences for the things that you're doing are almost hand waved or forgotten or run over, right? And that can range from like, I lost a limb to I have a scar over my right eye to my character is dead. And I think that all too often we just like, no, they're not, you're fine, your hand is back, your scar tissue is gone, your character comes back to life, right? And like, I think that if you remove all consequences from the game, it becomes less interesting. And so if you, maybe scar tissue is the wrong point to stick on about, maybe that one doesn't matter, but like,
I get that.
I feel like it's a good consequence to have because it opens avenues for other role playing that something like losing a limb might really severely restrict a player.
Right. And I think it works well in that case because like regeneration, very high level spell that's hard to get access to. And also like you have to make a system shock check to survive the process, I think. Like there are injuries that are hard to get past, but I actually really like the idea that clerics are this exception where I love the idea of clerics performing miracles, and the idea that they break the rule of normally permanent consequences for people is something that I actually really like. Like when people heal somebody with a cure spell in a game that I run, there is no scar tissue. They heal a wound like it was never there. It's a miracle. And that's something that I really like to accentuate with clerics in particular.
I like
I
this.
do
I think
agree with you about permanent consequences.
And I think
I was just saying that I like it being a social thing.
Yeah, I think to find the middle road between these, you can have a cleric ability that will permanently heal these things, but maybe the material components for it are very difficult, or maybe there's a special situation under which it can be done, so you can't just like walk around slapping every ugly biddy in the face. And
or it could literally
on the
be
light of the full moon, the cleric of Chi stands like in a lake, and just all the throngs of acne-ridden 14-year-olds come to him, and he cleanses their acne forever.
But yeah, no, I do. It could also be like a cheese specific thing in that particular case. I like the idea. Like I was saying in the red thread, like I get why resurrection is a missing thing, but it is a shame because I find the idea of pulling somebody's soul back from the dead is the quintessential miracle of the cleric. Right. So and I get why it's gone because it really fucks up the game.
Well, we haven't had a level 9 cleric or level 10 cleric until now. Well, we're going to test. We're going to test these rumors and see.
We'll
how
see.
Neal handles that.
I think it's going to depend on resurrection. It's a gone thing. Like if it's humans aren't deserving of it, maybe we can lawyer our way in there. But if it's like it doesn't work anymore. Like it's just broken. Even if we wanted to give it to you, we can't do it anymore. It's gone. Then it's obviously it's not going to work. Like we don't know why resurrection is a done deal for Arcadia. So I think that's be a feature of it as well.
I think this will force Neal to give some kind of explanation or clarification.
That's it. There's no more hardcore heroes, guys. I don't want to answer this question. Cancel the whole show.
Yeah.
I also think endings are important.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Neal end hardcore heroes. Like let's chat. Please don't crucify me. This is not what I'm saying. But I do find that ending campaigns and ending character arcs is very satisfying. I like to do that, and a lot of people ask me like how I've never had a campaign end. We either just all died or like something, and it's like
that's an ending, but it's not necessarily the most satisfying narrative ending.
It can be an ending, yeah, but like just coming to a close after a dramatic arc and saying that's the campaign. Like we've reached the like summit, and ending is an incredibly satisfying thing, and I think it's something that I don't see a lot of people online embrace, right? They do not look and like endings very much. They expect it to go on in perpetuity. And I think that it would be something worth embracing.
Yeah. And I think ambiguity is often an underrated aspect of
it is. I agree.
So like leaving an I don't know, ending a character arc without answering every single question. I like the way Georg's arc ended because it's kind of this big gray area. Like nobody it hasn't necessarily been solidified what happens after he's petrified.
All we saw is that he got dragged back to Heatstroke by the demons.
Right. And so that leaves room for the imagination, leaves room for headcanon of various sorts. It's all
I think the first ending to Hardcore Heroes was pretty good too. I mean, that's sort of the same as the Georg ending, but like Van and Malachi being like, fuck
retiring.
This shit. Yeah. Let's go over to a place where things aren't so fucked up. And like you still got to take Jeeves and everything. And then what was supposed to be our epilogue turned into a whole other campaign. What were you going to say, Sean, before I interrupted you?
Ambiguity's fine. I tend to like ambiguity in details more than actual resolution. Like you don't need to answer every facet of a character. It's okay to leave some things out there, especially when those things ultimately don't matter and it's just a subject of people's curiosity. But I do like conclusive endings as well, and I see a lot of GMs be like, I gotta think of like a crazy twist ending, otherwise it's gonna be cliche. It's like, just do the cliche, dude. It's okay. You can have a simple story. There's nothing wrong with like the basic storyline, and especially if it's well executed, everyone's gonna have a good time anyways.
Or if it's poorly executed and cliche, it can still be a good time if your cleric turns all your fighters into giant apes and they beat the shit out of the end boss. That was amazing.
Was that
it was in Seekers.
Yeah, I was gonna find a pun on Seekers. I was gonna be like, is that an ending you sought out? But I don't think it was clear enough that was a Seeker pun to make it work.
Druid. I'm sorry, not a cleric. Druid. That was that was so fun. I died laughing.
Well,
I
we
was
should-
a little worried when we started that fight, and then just giant aped him.
We should probably bring this show in for a landing. Is there any other topics that we want to touch on before we call it a day?
I wanted
have
to
anything
start
to-
off by talking about the Wizards of the Coast Love Domain Cleric a little bit. But
Oh,
I don't
this-
think we really have
yeah.
a ton of time.
I haven't even read this.
I don't know
I
anything
can.
about it.
I
Is
read
this
it.
some unearthed arcana BS?
Read it.
Is it bad?
It is. I can send you.
It is bad.
Now. I read it.
All right.
It's. I don't get why everyone was freaking out about it. You said there was like controversy around it. The only thing I see here that's kind of disturbing is the 17th level thing is pretty rapey. Like
Why-
that has a lot of potential.
Why is the 7th level spell Black Tentacles?
Because they're tentacles of love.
So basically, they've just got
Oh.
charm spells.
Yep.
Do you get tongues as a spell at 5th level?
Oh my god!
Black tentacles?
This is
Look,
is this
somebody,
really?
Private
somebody in the
sanctum.
D&D somebody in the D&D office had a great time making this domain.
Oh my god.
Is this in
But, like-
Unearthed Arcana? This isn't like a homebrew
It was originally published in Unearthed Arcana as a subclasses like Volume 2. They have subclasses like Volume 1 up right now. And then it got taken down rather quickly after, it seems as if after the online reaction to this was very strong. And then they basically
is
said it's not
surprising.
ready yet. We'll post it when it is.
Yeah. So like,
And
it's
I
not
don't think the
amazing.
thing
It's
you've
not like
linked, the thing you've linked
is
is
correct.
not what they put up there.
Oh really?
No.
I see. I couldn't
'cause that
find the
says-
official source.
Right, this is just 5e homebrew.
This
on
is
the
homebrew.
D&D.
Homebrew,
crap.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's homebrew. I thought it was gonna be because they don't have it up online officially anymore, or if they ever did. But I thought it'd be the real.
It is not up officially online anymore.
And there's got to be a.
Do you have
does
any
anyone
copies
have
of
the
it by
original?
chance?
I did at one point. Hold on, let me find
Okay.
what I was looking at before.
Yeah, it's okay. From the unofficial one, it's a little bit silly, but it's fine. Like whatever.
Okay,
I don't
so
get why everyone's so upset about that.
this is not the official source, but they have recreated some of the text. They've recreated the text to like talk about it in their article. I wouldn't read the article; it's not that good.
Just go for the direct quotes.
But yeah, on the bottom of this, there is the like
Okay.
there's actual text that is inside of it.
This seems very in theme with what we were talking about today.
This is
Love
why this is
D&D.
kind of between your pending nuptials and the reaction to this. This is kind of why I brought up romance in D&D. I was gonna start with our thoughts on this Unearthed Arcana, but we kind of just jumped whole hog into it.
That is how we do it here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, I feel like we had talked about the marriage thing previously, right? This bond where you can marry two characters. And Neal, weren't you saying that you had a campaign where everyone was marrying everybody for the bonuses?
In the Legend of Yaka, there's some sort of like group wedding spell where if two people wed under
that must
the
have come
spell,
from this.
you can get some blah 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 blah. But then it doesn't specify that it has to only be two people, and so they did like a big group polygamy wedding, so that for the next like 2 weeks they all got advantage on all their attack rolls or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ceremony. There we go.
This is worse than the other one, like the unofficial one that I found. But I wouldn't say it's like controversy worthy. It's just a little boring looking.
Yeah. I'm not
The
really seeing much
controversy, I
here.
think, is because of the way the like charm person spell like works, and the fact that it's granted, and the idea of charm being under the purview of love was not well received. I also think that these bonds are the big issue here is the impulsive infatuation, right? It reads, the cleric overwhelms a creature with a flash of short-lived but intense admiration for you, driving them to rash action in your defense, right? Like that is very different from, I think, the idea of romance and love that a lot of people have. And it kind of comes into this very like control and
Yeah, it's very manipulative.
coercion that I think runs afoul of a lot of people's sensibilities.
Yeah, and I kind of like this unofficial one.
Anytime you're manipulating someone else's emotions, there is a sense of domination, of overpowering, of taking away someone's agency. There's a certain amount of like brutality in manipulating someone's emotions magically, whether you're using it for love or to get them just to fight on your side or for whatever reason. And oftentimes we can easily sort of hand wave it because we don't really care. But once it gets into the realm of like love and sexual attention, then it gets really rapey, and that's when everyone starts to pull back. But at the same time, like that same principle is really fucking dark if you even spend half a moment thinking about it, if it's not involving love anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
So you've had a chance to read it. We've kind of. Do you have any other like thoughts about the Arcana and its potential problems, or is this kind of
that's my big issue with it by far. I think the channel divinity muse thing that like it lets you inspire your allies in that unofficial one, like that's the kind of thing I want to see out of a love domain. It's the idea of like using this passion and emotion to inspire the people around you.
That was going to be my follow-up, is if you were making a love domain, right, like what would you put in it instead?
I would say you draw, your power comes from drawing on existing sources of love to power things, not creating love. And that way you get to avoid all of the rapey connotations. And then you get to be like, my character is more powerful when they're surrounded by people who are in love.
Build in consent, require consent for all of your abilities.
Like, imagine that though, like you as the love cleric get the spell, like if a character is trying to perform an action that's important to their like personality or their background, you can inspire them on that action and give them a bonus to their roll. And that's a love domain thing, right? That fits in pretty well with 5e. It's probably weaker than a lot of traits in 5e. Like that's pretty solid. I think that fits the kind of thing that you would see in 5e mechanically, and it's a lot less uncomfortable than certain things like this impulsive infatuation trait.
It's difficult, especially when we go back to the conversation about D&D being very combat focused.
Yeah, and the trouble with 5e is everything's got to be balanced. So like you've got to make these love spells useful in combat.
Right.
So a lot of it looks like it comes down to just like, oh, you're giving bonuses on your charisma saving throws.
You are now in love with the caster and want to defend them better, so you get advantage on your attack rolls. It just becomes like another support caster with like a weird romantic tinge to it. I think you can do a love cleric, but it would necessitate a non-combat specialization, which doesn't fold well into 5th edition at all.
And you have to use the man catcher as your weapon, of course.
Oh yeah, you have to wield man catchers.
Only proficiency with man catcher. I don't know. I think that there could be a room for a purely utility cleric, right? Like
Sorry, I just had a terrible idea.
In 5th edition, the idea of like protective spells being your focus would be, I think, something that is well welcomed, right? A lot of the kind of protection buffing spells are powerful, but not particularly interesting. A lot of 5e games that I see are much more focused about evoking more powerful effects. If you gave a specialization to the love domain that involved like buffing, like protection from evil, right? Protection from evil would be a very loving spell, right? These people that you love are protected from bad things. And if you...
What the fuck, Neal? Did you write this just now?
That's why I didn't want to say it. I'm just going to write it to you guys.
Did you invent this?
Yeah,
Is
right
this a stroke of inspiration? You're laughing at your own joke in your head?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I was about to write a second one for women,
the real
but I
question,
decided
though,
against it.
Is do you roll?
Can I transfer this to
2d4
Twitch chat?
No, just go to Twitch chat.
just leave it between us. I don't want this hanging over my head for the rest of my life.
Oh my god, that's so funny. So we need to know that second spell for sure.
What?
We need to know that second spell you were in the middle of writing.
I was gonna say I agree with you, Greg. It'd be a very big departure from 5e's design, though, because that's more of a 4e thing. The idea of like you have people who have specific specialties. You have like the controller and the defender and the skirmisher, and that's more of a 4e concept. Whereas 5e has a lot more like everybody's pretty self-sufficient.
Right.
And you can make your party out of whatever, and it's fine.
I agree with you, but I think that there's room in the design space to give a little bit more specialization, especially if we're thinking.
I think it'd be a good idea.
Test Arcana material, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it'd be a good direction for them to go. They would just I think they need to actually lean into it.
And I think what they need is defensive spells or actions that are so good that you'll feel like using them all the time.
Right.
Right. The issue with those sorts of classes is your fallback cantrips are always your roll to hit and do D8 plus modifier damage.
Yep. Yeah,
So
you don't want them to fall back to
cleric
their bread and butter being an attack roll.
Right.
Right. I think that's kind of where I was trying to go until the Neal spell interrupted.
So there needs to be a cantrip or something that creates a shield that deflects incoming blows and with enough fortitude or I'm trying to find veiled innuendo here, and
even if you have like the default attack option, like it's pretty hard in 5e to build yourself around just using utility spells. Like I kind of did that with Courts, where like I tried to use a lot of like slow, blindness, stuff like that to control enemies. Oh no.
I like this one better, actually. I feel like this is a much better first level spell.
The second one is more mechanically well thought out. The first one,
yes, it is. Well, I mean, to be fair, those are more well.
Spell?
All right.
Oh my god.
This is derailed.
All right.
Yes, I believe we have officially derailed ourselves.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to end the conversation, but I think we have. Why don't we
come
take
back?
this?
We'll talk about defensive classes next time on Chit Chat.
Yeah.
We'll have a serious mechanical discussion.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Which we'll do sometime. When are we doing this again?
Let's see. Not next weekend. The next weekend after that, I'm going to a super cool wedding, and then the next month is March, and so probably all Sunday shows will be scheduled sometime in March. But I gotta figure that shit out.
What's going on next weekend?
Nothing is going on next weekend, and I would just like a day to like recoup.
Day off.
Cool.
Yeah, I just like a Sunday where I don't have to get up early. Yeah.
You slept into this morning.
Oh, I know.
Aren't you like 2 hours ahead of me?
1 hour. I slept until 11 instead of until 10:15 when I was supposed to get out of bed. Yeah. Well, this is going to be the end of Chit Chat. There will be a Desperate Measures later today. And then all the regular stuff, including our first session of Outpost Santa Barbara. Which is going to be fun. I think.
Yeah. Oh, are you starting that up now?
Yeah, it's we did character creation last week, and we'll do the first session this Tuesday.
That's cool.
So the rest of today, other than Desperate Measures, and all day tomorrow, I'm going to be prepping our first session for that. I'm pretty excited.
Nice.
Yeah. Any of you guys got anything to say?
Yeah, really proud of us. I feel like there was definitely some dick jokes in there. But I feel like we got through this fairly. We
saved the worst dick jokes for the private chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got to appeal to our audience here, right? The 16 to 27-year-olds. Or whatever.
Yeah, and like there was a little bit of that, but I think we handled this relatively well. This went okay.
We did okay.
This discussion could have gone much worse.
From Nazis to Eugenics.
All right.
We dodged
Our
the minefield.
discussions tend to go into weird places.
I think that's my fault. I'm pretty sure it's my fault. I think I'm the one who usually does that.
I think, were you the one who brought up Nazis on 4chan?
Maybe.
No, actually, that was Nick. Nick was like, I miss the days when 4chan was less Nazis.
Oh, that's true.
That's true. Yeah, let's just blame Nick for everything since he's not here.
Hashtag blame Nick.
Hashtag blame Nick. Yeah. Okay. So that's it.
That's it.
Thanks for listening.
Watch more shows. and
Yeah.
stuff.
We'll see you
Subscribes.
all eventually. I'll be around at some point.
Anyone else have a campaign that they are running on Twitch or that other people can find and watch somewhere?
Do you guys have campaigns, or did Neal kill all your
It's on the
characters?
internet.
No, I Seekers is done, and I don't have time. I really want to run a West Marches campaign one day. Like it's something that I need. It's an itch that needs scratching, and I'm gonna try to use Discord to do it. But that's far away from happening. I will be playing the Warcraft campaign soon, but that's not the same.
Is it like a tabletop thing, or
No, okay, so
Like
my brother
Warcraft Reforged.
So my brother has all the keys from the CDs that we bought for Warcraft back in the day. And we thought it would be really, really funny to play the OG game without the Reforged update. So he is a computer whiz and got a BattleNet version that was pre Reforged announcement. So when I launch from that, I can play the OG keyed games without the forced update, as long as I never click on BattleNet. As long as I never allow BattleNet to
wait, they
realize
force you
that
to
it's-
upgrade from the original game?
You didn't hear this controversy?
I did not hear
I
about
didn't
this.
know that was
Oh God!
Fuck
They-
that.
Are you telling me that I can't play Warcraft 3 regular anymore?
they
No,
broke
you have to have this
everything.
workaround. But I can, and I'm gonna do that, and it's gonna be kind of trolly. I'm gonna name it like Warcraft Unforged or something and play it.
Just gonna go and throw out here. Fuck Blizzard. There's a
just
lot of
like-
other reasons to say that, but that's just icing on the cake.
They've just been on a string of PR nightmares this past year.
Yeah.
Well-
yeah. No.
I mean, Blizzard Activision.
I think everyone forgets to include the Activision in Blizzard Activision.
They're-
Or is it
yeah,
Activision
they-
Blizzard?
the moment they merged, they stopped being the company that produced really cool games and started to be the company that wanted to make money more than games, right? I feel like once upon a time, Blizzard was a bunch of nerds who were like, let's make this fucking awesome game because they loved making
Oh yeah,
games
they have
and
not
they
been
found
that for a long
success.
time.
And now they're like, well, how do we optimize our cash flow from these gamer people? Well, let's do this. And it's just, you know, when people aren't passionate about the things that they're doing, when they're doing it for the purposes of finances, you tend to get shittier products. Usually, there are some areas where this is not going to be true, but especially in the entertainment sector, these like crazy fast turnarounds. Maybe if you're like a blacksmith and you're like, I want to make money, so I'm going to make really good blades, but you know, I don't know. Anywho,
Yeah. That upset me. That was a very low note to end this on.
yeah.
I have to do a workaround to get.
Well, it's okay. You can still play Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2, and we'll just forget about the third one anyway.
I wonder if you have, like, if I dig out my old Warcraft 3 CDs and I keep the computer offline and don't update it, you could probably install it that way and just not even go through BattleNet,
Yeah,
right?
just take the Ethernet cable out.
Get a,
Right, because Warcraft 3 came out before the whole BattleNet launcher BS, right?
yeah, but couldn't you just get like a small virtual PC installation of like Windows XP on your computer and just install it on
If
the
you
virtual
have a
drive?
CD DVD drive and you have XP and you don't put it on the internet, yes.
If you have
Yeah.
Windows, whatever, Windows 10.
I think I do
will
have it
let
on
you.
disk, so that's.
Yeah,
just get a
but
virtual
like I
drive.
don't have the discs because there's only 2 discs and like there's 2 brothers and my brother has the discs. And so my brother got the keys and gave them to me, so we had to get this workaround so I could get the keys. I'm really excited about it. I think it's gonna be fun just to like play through the game again. I threw on a quick match in Booty Bay like last night just to make sure I could capture the actual game in OBS. It took me a minute to figure out how, and I got my ass smoked. Like the computer, I was taking my second expansion, like, oh yeah. Okay, so to be fair, I took 5 minutes to remember that your basic melee characters for the undead are actually your wood gatherers. I spent like 3 to 5 minutes. I spent like 3 to 5 minutes with the little undead acolytes, like going, how do they mine trees again? Right, but like I was taking my second expo and feeling pretty good, and then like suddenly all these musket men just rained hellfire upon me, and the computer awful stomped me. It was bad.
That was the Warcraft 3 computer in a nutshell. It was like you would start, and then if you didn't know what you were doing, you were like, okay, I'm doing okay, and then the computer just shows up an army and destroys you in like a minute, and it's great.
So when I play through the campaign, I'm expecting lots of like, oh my god, I'm getting my butt kicked, because it's been forever since I played any RTS, much less Warcraft 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna end it here. We could talk for hours and hours and hours. We could easily
true.
get distracted for all time. So I'm gonna force an ending. We will see
Are
you
we
guys.
still live? I thought we were like long done.
No, we're still live. All right.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
This show is great.
This is best D&D content on net. We're out. We'll see you guys another time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.